Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Trackalicious for another fantastic stream of the GT4 series. Kuja is in the booth with me. Hello, Kuja. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Can't wait to see what sort of action the GT4s bring today on this fine Monday.
Looks like it is going to be an awesome one. We have quite a few cars on track. Looking at the list here, we have 24 rookie cars on track. That's going to be an insane grid. And we are towards the end of qualifying. So why don't we hop right in and get things started, Kuja?
Yeah, sure thing. Just under 4 minutes to go now in the qualifying. At the top, we've got the number 11 Porsche of Doyle sitting with a 154.867. Pretty close down to the top, down all throughout the entire grid, really. Still have a few drivers on track trying to improve, a few drivers in the pit lane, perhaps serving penalties from earlier races, but still around 3.5 minutes to go, around probably around 2 laps for these drivers to try and improve their times and set their grid position.
Yeah, looks like quite a few have done so already. Looks like we have the even numbers out and the odds have already set their time. So Doyle with the fastest time of a 154.867, 2/10 ahead of Estevez, and looking for someone to best that. We got Morgan, Yatanashi, John, Roman, Dooku, Sugg, and Velez all out trying to see what they can do. Oh, never mind. Tyler Morgan sitting in the pits for some reason. Yatanashi, odd number. Oh, I know what's going on. These are the quality band people. I don't mean to laugh at that in a mean way, but more so that I should know these things and yet forgot about it because that's the life I live. But Kuja, yeah, this is what you get when you make contact in the first lap in this league. Kind of a big incentive to be clean on the first lap.
Yeah, first lap incidents are quite common to see, especially during very short sprint races, but it is very important at the same time to keep it clean through lap 1 where it is the most congested. Sure, you can pick up a lot of places during lap 1, but you could also lose your entire race at that moment too, or cost the race of one of your fellow competitors.
You can't win the race on lap 1, but you could sure lose it, is what you're saying, and it is absolutely true. And while it might be kind of a difficult way to learn that, it is definitely a way that we've chosen to do it. Karu, don't jinx it. He says an Eric stream with 0 issues. The start was the hardest part. We managed to do it. Let's try to see if we can get through it. We got a long way to go.
Yeah, still plenty of action to bring. Anything can happen here.
Yeah, hello everybody in chat. Mariko, Alex, hope everyone's doing well. Saw Kinetcom82, welcome everybody. Hope everyone's doing well, and we're pretty excited for the end of quali here, trying to see if anyone can best their times. 0 audio issues at the start of this stream, Kuja. We managed to press all the buttons in the right manner, and it seems like we got things rolling, and we got cars on track. Will & Go has done really well in the past, maybe not so well today. The track might not be so suited for the McLaren as it has been in the other cars, but we know for sure Will's going to give it a good go.
Yeah, still plenty of time to show his pace during the 20-minute races ahead. Qualifying just determines your starting position. The race pace can be a completely different factor for some of these drivers. It's one thing to qualify and set one really fast lap, but it's another thing to replicate that quick lap over 20 minutes like consecutively without having any sort of incidents, picking up track limits. But we'll see here if Will & Go can improve his lap time as he rounds the final corner and punches it down the straight in the McLaren. 892. He is able to improve his time, but unfortunately not able to improve his position. Moves up to 6/10 closer to pole position, but also remains in 6th place.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate for Will. Just looking at it earlier, he was about 4/10 up his lap, more so than he was right now, and that would have pushed him up into 4th position. Positions that I would say that he really would have wanted, considering that he's got Mitch Nagarati and Vladislav Maverick just up ahead. That's going to be difficult positions to try and gain. These guys having done a great job so far in qualifying, but like you said, hot laps in qualifying are one thing. Race pace is completely another. First thing you got to do, don't get yourself in an incident. First lap, don't hit anybody. Otherwise, you're going to suffer the consequences. And that's definitely something that some of these drivers are learning the hard way.
Yeah, that is going to be an interesting thing to take note of during the race as well, just to see where those drivers who were not able to set a qualifying position, how quick their race pace actually is, and how quick they're able to work their way through the grid to get up into a position that is representative of their pace. So it'll be interesting to see how some of the drivers we've seen in previous races kind of be near that top 5, top 10 positions, see how quickly they can manage to work their way back up to those positions where we have seen them before.
Yeah, it's going to be super important. One of the things that people sometimes forget is that when you go into the lower pace sections, you really have to adjust. I often hear well, he braked too early. It's like, yeah, well, you're in the slower portion of the grid. They're gonna brake earlier than you are. Okay, that's your responsibility to figure that out, you know? So that's one of the frustrating comments that I hear, and I've been subject to it as well. I've felt the, oh my gosh, he braked so early, I couldn't predict that. And unfortunately it hit someone. Hey, I'm not perfect, you know. I do it as well. I just make sure that I apologize. But yeah, Dr. Porkchop in chat. Hey, Porkchop, hope you're paying attention to your race in your 7th position. I know you got 2 minutes and 22 seconds left until we get going, which, Kuja, is probably the perfect time for us to get rolling on the grid and see who we have on there. Let's get started. Up in P1, we have Austin Doyle. Doyle was doing pretty well in the last race, but nowhere near as well as he has today, all the way up into the P1 position in the AO Racing Porsche. Andy Estevez coming in P2 in the number 9 Aston Martin. With the sister car, the I'm Dominican Diaz Herald in the 29 Aston Martin. Coming in 4th place is Vladislav Maverick in the 74 Mercedes-Benz. In 5th place, thought we would see it, the spacey and magnificent Rogue Element Racing DRL BMW Mitch Narati. Coming in 6th place, another Canadian, Will Go in the Silver Tiger Racing. I love that livery. The semi-covered, not covered McLaren, super cool. In 7th place, Dr. Porkchop. This section of the grid filled with Canadians. Emmanuel Ramirez in the Costa Rica Racing Team P8 McLaren. Spady Bud coming in the 25 Mad Fox Racing Mercedes, and Shane Sullivan in P10 in the 617 Racing BMW.
Starting in 11th, we have Lily Chambers in the number 14 Starlight Racing Porsche. Very unique, colorful livery there with the mint and the pink. And another Porsche in the black and gold colored Porsche, the 314 in 12th place of Ellen Laranjo. In 13th, the first Camaro on the grid, the number 2 of Ryan Eason in the Jurassic Racing. Just behind Joan Perez in the number 20 black and teal Porsche. Vicente Morera in the Victory of Conquest number 84 Camaro. Just behind him in the other Camaro, another Camaro, the 707 of Wade Georgeson. Starting from the pits, we have Tyler Morgan in the 72 Aston Martin, the first of the pit starters we see. Next to roll onto the grid, Moriko Yatanashi in the 53 Aston Martin 9-tail Racing. Aaron John starting from the pits in the 24 Mercedes. Next on the grid is Conton Roman in the 78 Aston Martin. Rolling behind them is Dooku in the 23 McLaren. Nice copper color on that, I like that. Colin Sugg in the 34 starting from the pits. In the Sugg Racing Porsche, the 787 of Frederick Velez will start in 23rd on the grid. Last but not least, Stefano Rinaldi in the 87 Mercedes of Team Parker Racing.
There we go, Stefano back after a bit of a hiatus in serving his penalty, his long-awaited penalty. But up in the front, we have Austin Doyle leading the pack. And Neil, I see your livery deep dive. We will for sure get into it. Maybe it's a good time, actually, considering that we're still on the outlap. So let's serve that livery deep dive and have a look at this fantastic, I presume, helped by Neil to be made livery. This is a trademark Mitch Nairati livery. Lots of stars, very hopeful of the future and what's out there. Canadian flag on one side. I know Mitch has some Hungarian heritage, which I presume that flag is representing, but I'm not quite sure what the detail is, because I'm pretty sure Hungary's flag does not have any ornamentation from representing our friends over at DRL, the Degenerate Racing League. If you want some cool late night racing for our East Coasters or good time racing for our West Coasters, check them out. Tuesday nights, D-Gens run a fantastic league. Number 32, the Mantini logo. I'm not sure what that's all about, but lots of M's up there. Pretty cool. NYR. Our camera's gotten all skewed up, so let's get back into TV mode and check out as these folks get lined up to go racing. Engines revving, heart pounding, ready for the excitement at Watkins Glen. For those of you who haven't been following our chats, sounds like there are quite a few who are potentially going to this race in June, July. And you know what? I'm thinking about it. If I can squeeze it into my calendar, I think I'm going to go hang out with the folks here at Trackalicious. Rounding the last corner here, I'm going to go for a bit of a farther cam so that we get a good view of what's going on. Hopefully everybody has learned that we're going to put in a strong penalty for those who decide to contact each other in race one. Watkins Glen being very inviting in that first sector and in the bus stop as we get ready to race side by side, altering left-right formation, getting ready to go here at Watkins Glen for the first 20-minute race of the evening. And we're green going. Everybody in the front seats to get a very good start. Nairati, a much better start than Vladislav Maverick just beside. Looks like Doyle getting off to a rocket ship of a start where Herald goes side by side next to Estevez. These two Aston Martins going side by side through the first section of the track here. A bit of a bump on the curb, not enough to get into each other, leaving plenty of room. Herald eager to better his P2 position P3 position up into P2. Nairati tucking in right behind Herald, looking for Estevez to potentially lose two positions here, but Nairati thinks the better of it, tucks behind Herald, not so much so though, knocks into Estevez. These two are going in, and oh my goodness, we have an incredible situation in the back, multiple cars losing out on position. Let's go back and look at what happened exactly. Lots of yellows there, not quite sure where it started. I presume it's somewhere over here probably this group of cars, maybe a little bit farther ahead. Maybe it was Pork Chop and them, but definitely just behind Spady Bud, I think, in the mix here. What happens here? Looks like these folks back up quite easily. Big send from the BMW, and there's the McLaren of Will and Go that causes the situation. Unfortunately, gets into Blessa Maverick, and another car losing up multiple positions. Unfortunately, that is quite disappointing. However, they will face the consequences here. Kuja, this is incredible.
Yeah, just two kind of the similar moves were just a little optimistic dive into that bus first entrance of the bus stop, and they just kind of mirrored each other in the same way. Two cars back-to-back battles. Meanwhile, at the front here, the two Aston Martins in the similar colored liveries still battling out for second and third. Nothing really separating these two. Estevez just 3/10 back. Harald able to make up a place at the start as they go very close to the wall at the exit of the final corner here, as they complete their first lap. That was just the first lap, wasn't it? It was already so much action.
Yeah, that is the first lap, and there are many more to go, as looks like Estevez is taking a track cut right there, taking a very optimistic line, as you might say, but definitely going to be looking at a potential track cut. For those of you who don't know, there are track limits here at ACC. The computer decides where they are, and there aren't really clear rules and laws as to where they are all exactly, but if you get 3 of them, you're doing okay. If you get the 4th one, you're serving a drive-through penalty. I see in chat, Ricky Racing, and in case you forgot, he's got the PR at the end of his name from Puerto Rico, Ricardo Rivera, having won the race last week, and we have a fun fact requested. Well, I do have one loaded up here, Kuja. Did you know that for the longest time, many years, the development of electron microscopes were limited in their zoom because of their inability to know how to focus the electrons in a way in which improved resolution? And after many years, they developed a double focus method in which allowed them to further zoom so that you could get perfect view of atoms.
That is a very fun fact.
That's what happens when you end up in YouTube wormholes looking for a random thing to see the development of electron microscopes. Go, well, that's kind of cool. Chongolia PR, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for the follow. We are in the first of 3 races tonight, 2 of the Rookie Championship Series, 2 20-minute races with 16 minutes left in the first race, and then we're going to our Open Series race that includes the rookies and the pros at the same track.
Yeah, we'll see how that race ends up going with 2 classes on track at the same time. Here we have Tyler Morgan battling it out for 17th place. Just ahead of him is Ronali in the 87 Mercedes, making up a lot of positions. Oh no, and unfortunately there's a purple Camaro not spun, but just facing the incorrect direction. We'll just take a look at the replay and see what happened here. Going into turn 1, just trying to avoid the battle in front, and just under braking, unfortunately picks up some contact with the car in front and just kind of goes on the grass, and a very heavy crash in the front end. Not able to save it, and unfortunately for him, that is going to be kind of really just have to go to the pits to repair that damage. That's going to be pretty difficult to drive for the remaining 15 minutes of the race.
Yeah, that's unlucky. But nothing of his doing, really, just...
No, not at all.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for the Prime sub. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Welcome. We have a whole bunch of awesome redeems and some cool emotes that you have access to. For those of you who don't know, what just happened is everybody that has an Amazon Prime account also gets a free Prime sub. What most people don't know is when you do a Prime sub, the community that you subscribe to gets a bunch of Jeff Bezos' money. No loss to you, but a little bit of loss to Jeff Bezos. But we all know that he's got plenty. So if you do have a Prime subscription, we highly recommend that you go to your favorite streamer, whether it be us or somebody else. If it's us, we greatly appreciate it. And hit that Prime subscription. And then let's take just a little bit out of Papa Jeff's pockets.
He can certainly spare a little bit of change for us here.
Definitely. Got a bunch of battles up in the track here.
Yeah, well, Frederick Velez and the Aston Martin, the 787, trying to go side by side with the Porsche of Joan Perez, just getting through, I believe, for 12th place, as the timetable needs to update on the left. But just in front of them, and again, a very similarly colored Aston Martin, trying to make the move into the bus stop. That's going to be Ramirez on Roman versus Ramirez in the Aston versus McLaren. Oh, and we see a BMW going off in the distance, the teal BMW. I believe that is Sullivan in the 617. Just an unfortunate incident there at the bus stop. A lot of cars trying to fit into a narrow part of the track. Velez here trying to stick close to this battle ahead. Oh, very wide from the McLaren, nearly going onto the grass, oversteering almost into the side of the Aston Martin. This battle is going to keep going on throughout the lap. As we tuned in at the beginning of the lap, these guys have been nearly side by side through the entirety of it.
Yeah, Velez looking left, looking right, trying to encourage Roman to go off track, but looks like there is no such thing happening at this point in time. My goodness, there are so many Aston Martins on track. And so many battles at that. And while these folks are battling here, I thought I saw another battle happening. There is one. Oh, unfortunately, there's contact. Go back and see what happened. Sugg looking on the inside of the Camaro. Ooh, I'm not quite so sure if that move was there or not. Sugg, usually pretty good sportsman in trying to let the cars ahead. If he makes contact, he usually does try to let the person back by, but unfortunately in this instance, slowing down did cause a bit of confusion to the cars behind. And I do have another Prime sub. Thank you, Ricardo. Appreciate it so much. Ricardo bets $10, Kuja. He bets $10 that Rivera finishes top 10. I think I have multiple ways of winning this bet because he didn't define which race it's in. So let's say he's top 10 in this race, which he already loses because he's not in this race. And I don't think he realizes that have admin powers in the next race and could easily just give him a drive-through penalty and win that $10 anyways. Not that we would ever, but just saying these are possibilities that did run through my head for the $10 that would mean so much to us.
There's always a possibility here when you got the director in charge of it at all.
Being notified that we're apparently streaming LMU right now, which we can easily correct. Thank you so much for that update, Potts. I'll get that corrected. While Kuja keeps us up to date with what's going on track.
Sure thing. Colin Sugg here in the 34 Porsche after we saw that unfortunate incident going up the hill into turn 9, just getting back behind the BMW of Sullivan. We really see a massive size difference between these two cars from these external cams. The Porsche looks absolutely minuscule compared to most of the competitors around it. There's not an Alpine on track this week to give us a real show of how small a car is. And then we see Sullivan going a little bit wide, but still able to maintain the inside up the hill into turn 9. We'll see if the Porsche has the grip on the outside, just going onto the grass a little bit. Oh, the Camaro behind also dipping a wheel into the grass, but able to keep it pointed in the right direction. The Porsche and the BMW still maintain positions as they were before. Nothing separating them still on this lap. We'll see if Colin Sugg can mount any kind of move on the BMW ahead. Saw that teal BMW going a little bit sideways earlier, hopefully not picking up any damage and costing him too much time around the lap at Watkins Glen. As we just crossed the halfway mark of the race, he's going to try and send it on the inside of the first part of the S's. They're going to go side by side down the second part, leaving plenty of room for the BMW, and it's going to sweep on through down the inside of the second part. And now down the back straight they go. The Porsche just not having the top speed of the BMW. Can't quite keep up into the braking zone of the bus stop. BMW cutting the curbs really well. Suspension handling, the change in direction very smoothly, keeping that BMW pointed and planted in the right direction. Meanwhile, the Porsche is not able to get anything done, just maintaining a gap as close as it can to the bumper, trying to force the BMW into any sort of mistake. Porsche has really good cornering speed, but that BMW just really runs away in the straights. Getting ever so close down the inside there.
Yeah, Sug trying everything. The Porsche, I think, is better around the corners. I haven't driven the BMW in a very, very long time, but it does, in my recollection, tends to understeer on entry and oversteer on exit, but it does have immense power on the straights, and we saw that on the front straight where Sullivan was able to pull away, even though it looked like Sug had a better exit. And Ricardo, I'm sorry, unfortunately I do not have the external timing, the pit stop activated, or pit skill, I forget what it's called, pit wall, that's what it is. So no, I'm sorry, I do not have that, so when I'm streaming I can't activate that. MMG 5000, welcome chatter, and you want to see Diaz Herald, and we can definitely go have a look as soon as we're done looking at this battle, because looks like Herald is in a bit of a island of his own with not too many people around him, but we will check him out as he is in 5th place, a position that he's not quite used to, usually fighting for the top spot. Very quick driver, and we'll get to that in a second. More Herald fans week for sure. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Welcome, bienvenido everybody, welcome, hope everyone's doing well. Lots of requests for Diaz Herald, so let's go have a look, as it looks like Colin Sugg being able to put a bit of gap, and Herald actually in a lot of pressure from Will to go just back in the McLaren. Now they're just about to go into, they're in the 3rd sector now. I thought they were in the front straight, but there's going to be a lot of pressure on that Aston Martin on the front and back straights, really the back straight, which is the longest straight, considering that sorry, I should say the 2nd straight, which is the back straight. It is the back straight, because that McLaren has incredible top speed. Now, Herald pulling away from Go, which is quite surprising. Wouldn't you say, Kujak? Will has shown quite a good amount of pace, so it's interesting that over such few corners there's such a gap being built up.
Yeah, going through that complex is especially tricky. We see there's a really big elevation change, and on the we see Herald hitting the wall on the exit there. That's going to cost him just a few ticks of damage. But yeah, just the amount of elevation change there is between turn 8 and 9 is very tricky to get right. And the corner of turn 9 itself is a little bit off camber, so you really can't put the traction down until you are completely confident in your right foot being able to get completely planted.
Yeah, Kusha, I think we have all of the Dominican Republic here supporting Herald. Multiple people asking for Herald views, and actually what I'm going to do is, even though you guys haven't redeemed it, we're going to go for a full onboard lap with Diaz here and have a look at what he could see and how he is driving this Aston Martin, looking for positions ahead and hunting down Dr. Porkchop.
Yeah, trying to hunt down the Aston Martin of his fellow competitor ahead, closing the gap just a little bit here as he goes through turn 6 and when enters what is known as the boot. Here we have turn 7, called the toe, because that is the toe of the boot, and now he shoots this Aston Martin up the hill. Very important to try to get the power down as soon as you possibly can. You don't want to cost yourself any sort of momentum or time going up the hill into a pretty heavy braking zone of the heel at turn 8. And this is that section we were talking about earlier where you're kind of going up the hill here into a pretty big braking zone, and then the turn just kind of breaks away from you all the time. As you can see there, he's being pretty delicate on the gas up until the point he's confident he can put his foot all the way down. And then entering the final 2 corners, turn 10 and 11, just a slight tap on the brakes, a very high-speed corner, but you don't want to go too far wide, as we saw him do on the previous lap, as he just tapped the wall a little bit with that left side of the rear of the car. And that brings him back onto the start of the lap. We tuned in a little bit late, but here's turn 1, also known as the 90. You can run a little bit wide here onto these curbs as he's doing. Now the track limits are a little bit nicer around that corner than some other places around the track. A quick right-hander, quick left-hander, very huge amount of elevation change here. You can't quite see it from the outside camera, but from the inside camera you can really see how high up the hill you go up until you reach the back straight, where it is pretty flat up until the end of it. And now the bus stop, a really high-speed chicane. Right, left, and then a right again, and then entering back to where we started with his onboard lap. Down and around turn 5. And he did, in fact, gain a little bit of time on this lap. Closer to Dr. Porkchop ahead. The gap now 1.9 seconds.
Yeah, we have loads of fans of Harald in chat. Kisuke188 claiming to be the #1 fan. Now, oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, he disconnected.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Man, that is really unfortunate to see.
Oh,
Just
that's so
less than
heartbreaking.
3 minutes to go, too.
That's so heartbreaking. I'm sorry, everybody. Unfortunately, there's something between the internet in the Dominican Republic and our server that just doesn't seem to get along. Diaz has been such an incredible driver, managing to sometimes get into situations and start from the back and get all the way up into some really competitive spots, and he was doing so yet again. And just 3 minutes left in the race, got a disconnect. That is so unfortunate. I'm really sorry. Really gonna have to investigate further and see if there's anything we could do to stabilize the connection between the incredibly quick car of the Aston Martin of Diaz Herald and our servers. Goodness. Most likely.
Yeah, that is really unfortunate to see. Yeah, especially with all the support he's been having and all the... Yeah, just always unfortunate to see, but luckily there will be another 20-minute race ahead where he can put on another show for all of his supporters out here.
Yeah. Let him know. Friends of Diaz Herald, tell him to come back. There's another race to go, and I'm sure he could do really, really well. Looks like, I think he did reconnect. Looks like he's back. He did have the fastest lap of the race, too, at a 1:54.9, which seems to be probably half a second faster than anyone else out there. And he was, my goodness, that was going to be a pretty fantastic battle between Herald and Porkchop. There was for sure some things happening. So we jump down to Evan Laranjo or Laranjo, whichever way, let us know the correct pronunciation, but quite a bit of damage on this golden black Porsche, Kuja.
Yeah, just in a three-way battle here with a big train kind of approaching this battle here with the Aston and the Porsche. The final closing stages of the race, we'll see if the 314 can make up any positions ahead, but at the same time you got to keep in mind there are plenty of cars behind which are dying to make any sort of effort to climb up the leaderboard in the final lap of the race, as we hear the ACC director say that it is the final lap of the race. Nothing quite yet between these two competitors as the Porsche gets a little bit swirly under braking, avoiding the Aston ahead, has to pull to the right, but able to avoid any sort of contact, doesn't lose any positions behind. The Aston ahead runs a little bit wide. Will this give the position to the Porsche? The 314 is going to be the outside, sweeps around, gets the move done before the front straight even happens, and will the Aston behind lose another position to the McLaren? The McLaren got very close and now is going to sweep to the inside. Will this be 2 positions lost for the Aston? No, he's going to get or stay ahead through the braking zone, runs a little bit wide. Man, it's getting very close between those cars behind. The Porsche of Sugg trying to get into the mix also.
And Sullivan too in the light blue BMW going side by side. Unfortunately, Dooku seeming to drop back. They go 3 wide onto the back straight. No, camera, we want to see what's going on here. 2 wide now with Sugg just behind. Sullivan coming out the winner. Lots of curb there. That's not really the optimal line, but looks like they all make it through. And Sullivan, the winner of the 3, at least for these 2 corners, but I don't think the battle is quite over just yet. Sullivan making it ahead in the BMW. Again, lots of straight line speed, but this Porsche is super quick to the corners. But is Sugg going to be able to overtake or not? It's one thing to be fast, it's another thing to be able to make that move work. Looks like Dooku's falling farther and farther behind. Now, I think Juan Perez. Oh no, there seems to be a bit of contact behind, but I want to continue our focus up ahead here. But they did look like Dooku and Perez did get into a bit of a situation behind, as Austin Doyle does manage to finish the race with no issues whatsoever. Completely dominant performance. Interesting there, and we get into just the last sector here with only a couple corners left for Sullivan to have a look at Roman just up ahead. Oh no, there's a spin and contact, and there's disaster. Oh no, Roman gets into it, and Sullivan gets a hit and gets crushed. But the hood gets crushed, and that is positions for Colin Sugg, gaining 3-4 positions up into the last corner now. Sugg making it through the issue there. The damage there of multiple cars in the situation, accident, whatever the word is, and Sugg coming out on top of all these drivers into the top 10 with only a few corners to go. Oh my goodness. We'll look at that again. No, it's not Tyler Morgan. It is, oh my gosh. That is so unfortunate. It was one of the... Who flipped? It was definitely an Aston Martin. Which one? I do not know. Velez. It was Velez. Oh my goodness. What an ending to this race. You think... Yeah. You think you're settled in, you think you're ready to go, and everybody's kind of calming down, but nope, mistakes happen. It's never over until it's over, Kuja.
Yeah, that last lap treated us as some mighty battles. We saw Sullivan go 3 wide with his competitors up ahead and pulled off a double move before the braking zone of the bus stop and gets it done through there. And then at the end, in the final sector, we saw one of the cars get absolutely launched into the air from some contact, and nothing you could really do about that. There was a car just kind of parked, and just everybody else just kind of started crashing. Nowhere some people could go, and unfortunately for some, they ended up worse than others.
Yeah, a question popped up earlier asking who the best driver is, who's the top competitor. And I'm not quite sure. There are a lot of competitive drivers in this league right now, and the scores are pretty close. But if I were to statistically answer your question, Gerald Diaz is in P1 of all races, and he's had some disconnects too. So I would say that he's your best driver, the driver you support. I'm going to call you out, Gerald, here. I don't appreciate when people call out other drivers in chat, so let's try to avoid doing that. There have been multiple people that have apologized for contacts if it was their mistake, and if you have a problem, report it to stewards or the league manager. So let's not get into that kind of behavior here at Trackalicious. We do not like it. But with moving on from that particular situation, we did see you get disconnected, unfortunately, Gerald, and that was really disappointing. We were really hoping to see a good battle between you and Dr. Porkchop. You were catching up to him really well. Yeah, that's so upsetting. Roman, you were so close. Is it Roman or is it Roman? Can you please clarify for us? Because as commentators, we take a best guess, and sometimes we're right and sometimes we're wrong. I try to click on things here. Could do another grid walk, but we have already kind of already know what the situation is, generally speaking. Oh goodness, I don't remember which one I said first. Did I say Roman or Roman first? Okay, Roman, first one, or Roman, the second one? Sorry, I forget what I said. I'm clicking on buttons and a lot of stuff going on, so I don't remember. But I know I said Roman first this time and Roman the second time. First one, Roman. Okay, gotcha. And what about your first name? Because I think that was Contin. How do you say that part? How do you say your first name? Contin. So, okay, Contin Roman. Got it. Contin Roman. Got you, Contin. Yeah, that was really unfortunate. We did see that happen. Very unfortunate. I guess, I don't know. It's racing. You win some, you lose some. That's what happens when everybody's trying to dominate the same piece of the track, unfortunately.
Yeah, at that point of the track, too, it's like super narrow, too. There's just walls all around. There's nowhere to go to avoid cars all around getting spun around. So all you can do is either go into the walls, go into the cars ahead. If you're lucky, like some of the drivers we saw, you're able to avoid people. So it's just luck of the draw at that point in time.
Yeah. Got some DRL fans in here supporting the Nyrads. Hello, Gav Zoman. Well, the beautiful thing about the Rookie Series is if you fail the first time, you get to try again one more time. Race 2 of the Rookie Series, another 20-minute race. Seems to have been very, very action-packed over the last couple of races that we've had. And we have another one after this. We have another 50-minute race that includes all of the rookies who want to do it and some of the pros. So you're going to see those lap times really get crushed compared to what we see here. Because some of the seasoned pros like Ricky Rivera, PR, who thinks he'll become top 10 unless someone intervenes. But yeah, Ricardo, incredible driver. Ex-SRO, I believe. I'm not sure if he's going to be an SRO this season or not, but super quick. And was been actually just went to Korea to drive in a Hyundai Challenge. So him and some of the best drivers in the world, Ricardo winning out over some of the most incredible drivers in the American time zones. Ricardo, obviously a top tier driver, going all the way to Korea to compete in a Hyundai Challenge. Super cool to see. Congratulations on that, and now he's back for some more Trackalicious love.
Can't beat racing, any kinds. Real racing, sim racing, all kinds. Yeah, super fun to do it with a bunch of good group around you, like we do have a Trackalicious.
I was telling someone the other day, what do you race? Do you go? They're asking me, do you like iRacing or do you like ACC? I'm like, honestly, I'll race whatever you let me race. I just love racing. I don't care what it is. Unfortunately, my life is so busy that I yearn. Every week, I'm like, oh man, I wish I could do some more racing. I wish I could do whatever it is. And unfortunately, it looks like we have a spin in the back before the race has even started. One of the Porsches. But yeah, I just give me a bar stool with a motor and I'll race it.
I'm sure in the sim world that's completely possible to mod into a game.
I bet you if you Google it, I bet you someone's done it. A bar stool with a motor seems like someone sitting on a bar stool would think about and do. Alrighty, Kuja, we are lined up side by side. Well, yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
In zipper formation, let's call it. I'm gonna trademark that one. Mike's got the Noah's Ark, which is super cool. I'm trying to be cool myself, be cool as commentator Mike Noss, but you know, I'm not sure if I'll ever get there. But I'm gonna trademark zipper formation at the start. A little bit forward, a little bit rearwards as everybody is lining up. Again, adrenaline running, red on the boards, going green. Everybody seems to get a pretty good start. The front looks pretty competitive. Doyle not getting as good a start as last time with Estevez on the outside. They get through cleanly. Everybody seems to have gone through. Estevez now tucking back. Narati up into third place, looking to see if the top speed of that BMW is going to help him out in the first sector of the track. Unfortunately, some contact in the back there, but we're going to focus on the race ahead here. Looks like Estevez tucking in behind Doyle. We know that Porsche does not have the greatest top end, greatest straight line speed. Estevez tucking in behind. Oh no, go in another incident on lap 1, but looks like Narati managed to do a fantastic job regaining control of that BMW. Still in third place and goes still looking for that position, but Narati does manage to gain control, does manage to keep that fourth place. Now it's Vlasa Maverick challenging Go for that position, and Go got himself into 2 contacts in lap 1 in both races. Very unlike him, as we've seen some incredible racing from him in the past, but what is more incredible is that Narati managed to save that. That is unbelievable. I cannot believe that he managed to do that and still manages to keep that third place. Narati now holding up a train behind him, but well deserved in the huge save that he had from the contact.
Yeah, that was an incredible save. He was completely sideways in the BMW, but able to maintain the car pointed in the right direction after that, and maintaining the last step of the podium in third place for now. As at the front of the pack, Estevez was able to get through Doyle for the lead. Here we've got Vicente Moreira in the 84 Camaro trying to make up positions as the fellow Camaro goes off in the background and unfortunately gets hit by one of the Mercedes. I believe that was Spady Bud. Let's take a look and see what happened here. The black and yellow Camaro trying to make up a position on the Aston ahead. Stays on the inside. Gets it nice and clean through the braking zone. Now they're going to go 3 wide. Oh, there was a car. Oh my goodness, they were almost 4 wide at that point, and 2 cars ahead keep collecting each other, and unfortunately the Camaro comes out the worst of it. There was just a lot of bumping left and right between the 3. Nobody wanted to give up that position, and unfortunately for Georgeson, he came out the worst.
Someone has to tell these guys that 3 cars cannot occupy the same space as 1 car can. And they're just all converging. And what's really kind of karma-ful is that the Mercedes that started it all, which I believe was Spady Bug, ended up getting further damage from the car of Georgeson being sideways. Now that was really unfortunate for them to be in such a scenario. But goodness, come on, guys. It's lap 1. There's so many laps left to go. Or lap 2, maybe. Which isn't much different than lap 1. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Carson Cass coming in with the sub. Not even a prime sub. That is 12 months, Kuja. That's almost a year.
That's almost a year. Yeah, if our calculations are correct, that's, yep, that's correct. Ryan Eason here making up a few positions from the start, but unfortunately has a drive-through penalty to his name. That's probably for just being out of position at the start. Not wanting to give up any places or give up any time, though, as he does have to serve that penalty quite soon here from the start. Still maintaining his position through the inside of turn 9, keeping the Aston Martin of Tyler Morgan behind. We'll see if he's able to do that through these fast corners to close the lap. Turn 10, a very fast corner to the left, followed by turn 11, a pretty quick corner to the right, just a slight tap on the brakes, and we see him going very, very close to the wall. Diaz Herald has a very huge overspeed run on these 2 cars ahead, but thinking the better of it and just tucking in. Tyler Morgan, though, looking to gain that place on Eason, who does have that penalty still. They're bumping as they exit turn 1 and approach the S's. We'll see how Diaz Herald wants to play this one out, as the 2 in front of him go side by side up the hill. Now down the right, to the right they go, and down the back straight now. The Aston seeming to have a really good overspeed run here. Morgan up in 9th place, or 8th place, I'm sorry, and Diaz Herald through the braking zone is going to jump up ahead of Eason as well. The 2 Astons picking up places down the back straight and into the bus stop.
Yeah, good job by both of those cars getting through, and credit to Ryan Easton and not causing an incident. I wonder if Ryan even knows that he's got a DT next to his name. He might not, because I would have expected for him to have ducked out of the race there and into the pits to serve that penalty. It's not quite over for him yet. You know, there are a lot of cars that have made contact, so there's still a possibility to make up some positions. So don't quit, Ryan. Make sure you keep going, and yeah, try to make up some positions. Mariko Yatanashi in chat saying, there goes race 2. Mariko, don't quit the race. Don't end it. Even every single position counts, and it could result in championship positions towards the end of the championship. Don't do it. I don't know. I don't get when people, okay, yeah, there's contact. It happens. Go into the pits, repair it, and come back out and try to gain some position of the others who quit the race. There's so many points to be earned.
Yeah, that is a very fair point, and to that point also, Eason, fortunately for him, it's a very short pit lane, so that drive-through won't cost him as much time as it could around other tracks such as Spa. But out on track, Diaz-Herald's trying to sweep through the inside of turn 1 on the fellow Aston of Morgan ahead, but not quite able to stick his nose in front. Morgan going a little bit wide. We'll see if Herald can have a good overspeed run up the hills of the S's as we ride on board. Sweeping to the left, sweeping to the right, tucking into the slipstream of the Aston ahead. We'll see where he wants to go into the braking zone of the bus stop. Looks like he's going to try to go down the inside. Can he get the move done? Good braking from the two of them. Little side by side. Cars going left, cars going right. And they're still side by side. No, they're not. Diaz-Herald sweeping around the outside of turn 5 and gets the move done into 8th place overall. Going to try and catch up to Sullivan ahead. Has about a 2-second gap to the car ahead. We'll see if he can close that gap in the next coming laps.
Yeah, that was a really nice move into the bus stop, pushing Tyler, not literally, but figuratively, pushing Tyler too wide, and a bit wide onto the first right-hand turn, made Tyler take on more curb, which sent him wide onto the left-hander of the second turn, giving Diaz the advantage on the exit. That was a pretty smart move, cleanly done. Both raced pretty fairly, and it was very cool to see.
It was very good side-by-side action between those two Astons, as here we see some more side-by-side action with Colin Sugg trying to get through and move up into the top 10. That is Vicente Moreira ahead of him in the 84 Camaro, as these two continue to go side-by-side. The Porsche pretty dominant through the corners, but running a little bit wide. Is not going to be able to get the move done there. Has to tuck in and try again through the next lap, as these guys finish off lap 4.
Yeah, Colin has been in a lot of action lately. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but you know, I hope he's having fun. Oh no! Whoa, that was a close one. Finding a little bit of more rotation in the rear than he does in the front, but going in behind the Camaro, the massive Camaro, and goodness, there's such a huge size difference. And unfortunately for Colin, that is not going to be something that he's going to find a lot of advantage in, despite being behind the Camaro. That Porsche doesn't seem to have the best top end in terms of speed.
No, a little bit of contact there, unsettling the back of the Camaro, but Sugg is going to stay behind as he knows that move is not quite done fairly. And they're going to stay as they are now. Car in the back getting close, one of the Astons, as Moreira runs a little bit wide onto the grass, and that's going to give the position to Sugg to move into the top 10 now.
That's a 2-for-1. It was Sugg and Velez. The timing charts seem to be quite delayed. Oh, no, Moreira is in the Camaro. Who is in the Aston?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm quite confused by it too. Maybe it was someone who had an incident and had to pit and repair the car, so maybe they're under blue flags there. So here's, yeah, that might be
right.
what that might be what's going on there, and we just can't quite see that from our perspective.
Let's find
But
out.
yeah,
who that is.
based on the timing charts, it doesn't really seem like there was a Aston Martin in that battle.
78, that's the number. Who is 78?
78 is Roman in 20th position.
Okay, there we go. So yeah, it is a lap down.
Yeah, there we see the blue flag waving. So now, yeah, now we can understand what's going on here. Just trying to make up as many places as he possibly can. Probably just picking up some sort of damage from an incident earlier and having to go into the pits and repair that. But unfortunately, coming out in a pretty bad spot on track with a 3-car battle going on around him. As there we see Dooku in the 23 McLaren trying to run around the outside of the Camaro. Almost a 3-wide battle here for position. The Camaro staying on the inside, and Dooku just can't quite get that position done as we see that blue flagged traffic just not quite giving way to this battle, but also can't quite get ahead can't quite get ahead of this battle either to pull away and let them battle freely. So we'll just have to wait and see how this plays out with the 3 cars getting involved here. Sugg in front in the Porsche in 10th place, followed by Moreira in the Camaro, and then Dooku here, who we're riding with, and just behind, oh, Moreira into the wall at the toe, turn 7, that gives up 2 places to Rinaldi in the 87 Mercedes and to Dooku in the 23 McLaren.
You know, Rinaldi has started from the back and has made up quite a few positions, I think, by just staying clean. All he's done is stay clean, put your head down, try to put down clean laps and avoid incidents, and he's made it all the way up into P12. Now, there's some fun brewing up front here, Kuja, in that while Estevez is farther ahead, looks like Nairati is challenging for Austin Doyle, not Alan Doyle. There was another Alan on the grid somewhere. But Austin Doyle for that P2 spot, and he does go side by side onto the back straight. That straight line speed of the BMW going to be a huge advantage for Nairati after the big save that he had on lap 1. Manages to make it through the bus stop pretty well, cleanly. That Porsche looking quite attacking here as they go through the corner, of which the name is the outer loop. Cambered corner going into the chute now, turn 6, and Nairati up ahead, but Doyle not quite giving up. Still there, still attacking. We know Doyle has pace. He's going to be pressuring Nairati into a mistake if he can. As the Cheese Man has joined us in the chat, and there is a mistake from Nairati. Really not the best place to do that as he goes through the back, well, the boot, I should say, not the back straight. But one of the worst places to make a mistake is you lose a significant amount of time in making a mistake on the exit of the toe. But Nairati did find some speed earlier and is going to want to find some again to try and close up that gap. While Andy Estevez just cruising in P1 after the early moves, getting himself into that top position. Now the battling of Nairati and Doyle is going to be music to his ears.
Yeah, he's just able to pull away, having that fastest lap of the race. Also now 3 seconds the gap to this battle for 2nd and 3rd place. This is going to benefit Will Go behind, who's just 2.3 seconds back of these guys. We just saw, yeah, the Porsche just seeming to have a really good advantage through all the corners, where the BMW has a massive advantage on the straights. I'm curious to see how close the BMW is able to get to the Porsche. The Porsche just seeming to ride the line it usually does, and the BMW is too, but it just has an incredible amount of speed as the Porsche shapes up a defensive position into the bus stop, but able to stay ahead. And now into the part of the track where it is strongest, into all of the curvy, twisty sections as they go through turn 5 around a very long sweeping corner, just going up the hill before they dive back down, entering the boot at turn 6 here. The Porsche running a little bit wide, but the BMW not quite close enough to take advantage. Still not close. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if I'm Narrati, I am gonna try to get the best exit I can out of the toe. Did he do it? Is he gonna close down that gap? Is that BMW gonna have enough power? Not quite, but I think he does get a little closer, and he's got 5 minutes left to go. It's just a couple of laps, 3 maybe. And he's really gonna want to pay attention to hold clean lines, good exits, try and catch up to that Porsche if he can, and try to take that P2 position.
Yeah, not making the mistake he did on the last lap of putting the foot down before the wheels had traction and giving the position up to the Porsche, actually gaining a little bit of time, as you said, through that section as they start yet another lap. Estevez still 3 seconds ahead, catching up to a little bit of traffic ahead, now 3.1 seconds ahead. These two still same gap as they were before. But as we saw on the previous lap, the BMW able to gain a huge amount of time through the S's, this turn 2, 3, and 4 complex they're approaching now, and then down the back straight as well, before the Porsche comes into its own through the bus stop and entering that big sweeping corner of turn 5. And yet again, the BMW closing and closing. The Porsche's not shaping up defensively this time, confident in its abilities to stay ahead, and does so, running a little bit wide though through the last part of the bus stop. Will it give the BMW an advantage? Not quite. The Porsche able to keep the speed and sweeps through the corner. BMW though looking quite aggressive on the power, making the Porsche shape up defensively. And will it force the Porsche to go deep? No, not this time. Still maintaining the same position as before. Estevez pulling out an even bigger gap as these two guys battle for position on track. Will and Go is going to try his best to try and close the gap to these two, but not quite able to do that yet, as these guys approach a big braking zone of the heel. The Porsche running a little bit deep, but able to carry the speed and put the power down pretty effectively as they go up the hill into this very awkwardly cambered corner. The Porsche very good at putting the power down, but you see here the BMW a little bit hesitant, not quite able to stay as close as it needs to try and pull off a move into these sweeping corners or even turn 1. Maybe that lapped car ahead might get a little bit involved in this battle as these guys are approaching, as the drivers are approaching the car at a very fortunate part of the track. It's a pretty fast part where the Aston can just kind of sweep to the side and get out of the way. But yeah, not quite anything yet done, not yet anything available for Mitch Nairati to pull off a move on Doyle ahead.
Unfortunately for Mitch, looks like Doyle is going to have a bit of an advantage, or did for a second, in having the draft from the Aston ahead, but does manage to pull off and actually holds him up. This could be a huge opportunity for Nairati. Is he going to be able to pull it off? Are they going to go side by side into the bus stop? No, decides not to, and he's probably going to have maybe one more lap to pull it off. And while these guys are battling, looks like there are more battles happening just up ahead, as looks like Stefano Rinaldi has found some pace and made his way all the way up to Yipuduku in 11th position. This is going to be an interesting battle if Stefano's going to be able to push up ahead. And somewhere in the middle as well, look like we have Gerald Diaz battling for position as well, giving Maverick a lot of pressure, looking left, looking right, sending it in. Oh my goodness, that's a bit optimistic. I don't know if he quite had that move to make it, but oh my goodness, I think he disconnected.
Once again, in the closing stages, once again for Gerald, pulling off some brilliant moves, but then just disconnecting yet again.
Raymond Antonio, welcome. Unfortunately, you're catching us at a bit of an unfortunate situation where we see one of our drivers getting disconnected. Gosh, we really got to figure out what's happening to Diaz's connection here.
The leader is on the final lap now. Give it all you
As
can.
Stefano Rinaldi still challenging Dooku, trying to see if he can get a position. Also, Mitch Nairati, one more lap to go. Seems like he has some pace, but does he have enough? Raymond Antonio, welcome. This is the last lap of the second race of the night, the last race of the Rookie Series, but we do have another championship coming up in the Open Series where the rookies and the pros get to race again at Watkins Glen with some variable weather and a pit stop. DIK Dasher, welcome. I almost said it out loud, but I'm not sure if there's any intent there, but we're just gonna spell it out this time around. Welcome, both of you. Hope you're doing well. Are you folks sim racers as well? If so, what do you race? What do you like driving in? Sim preference, as we are in a golden age of sim racing, just absolutely spoiled with the options out there. And today we are doing some ACC Rookie Series here. Tyler Morgan and Sugg chasing down Shane Sullivan in the Robin's Egg Blue BMW up ahead.
Yeah, good three-way battle here for the end. Tyler Morgan in a bit of a sandwich as they go through the toe. No one quite giving up any sort of position here. We'll see what sort of speed the Aston has compared to the BMW in the braking zone, shaping up for a move, but he's not quite close enough to do it. This might give Sugg an opportunity to try to move up a few places, but he's not quite close enough to take advantage yet. This battle is going to go on all the way to the line. The Aston getting close to the bumper of the BMW. Can he get some sort of move done? Estevez crosses the line in first place. Doyle in second. Nairati in third. These three continue to battle through the final two corners. Fast sweeping right-hander to go with a wall on the left. Aston pushing the BMW. Can the Porsche take advantage? They're almost three wide as they go to the line. And it's gonna be Sullivan with the advantage, followed by Morgan, followed by Sugg. Fantastic battle to the line between those three.
That was pretty awesome. Looks like it's not over yet as we see Ryan Easton challenging Lily Chambers. Lily goes wide, Ryan goes narrow. They both are at a disadvantage, but looks like Lily's still up ahead. Lily Chambers in the Porsche, Ryan Easton in the purple Camaro out back. Lily into the wall. Is that enough for Ryan getting an advantage? But no, it doesn't quite seem so. Lily Chambers does manage to finish up ahead in a 13th position. Wow, another battle. Is there anything else behind? It looks like no. 140, 157. Who's that? Who is that? Manuel Ramirez going into the pits. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the rookie races tonight. And we have one more yet to come, which is our GT4 Open Championship. My goodness, we had quite a few interesting challenges there, interesting battles. Wow. Let's get back into the studio. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Our two rookie races of the night, filled to the brim with action, as Watkins Glen does usually provide. Unfortunately, some bad action, but fortunately, some good action. And we saw both sides of that for sure tonight, Kusha.
Yeah, definitely a few incidents, a few scrappy battles, but also some fantastic moves and some really brilliant battles going through multiple corners, multiple laps even. And yeah, great to see some good side-by-side action between the GT4 cars. Yeah, a lot of action all the way through start to finish there in both races.
Yeah, and it's not over yet. We have the Open Series coming up, and that is going to be exciting as we see some of our pro drivers joining the racing tonight. It's going to be super exciting. These guys are going to be putting some incredible times. We are about to connect into the race. There's 3 minutes of practice left, and we'll wait until qualifying to join. But maybe in the meantime, we can pull in some of our drivers. P1, P2, P3. Those of you who were in there want to join for a quick conversation and let us know how your race was. Oh, we do have Mitch in here. Hello, Mr. Nairati. What an incredible race 2 you had. Race 1 was pretty decent, but I first want to talk to you about that lap 1 save in race 2. Tell us what was going through your mind.
Don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die. Pretty
You
much
didn't.
paraphrasing there.
You didn't die. It worked.
Yeah. It was pretty obviously stunning going through the initial chicane of the bus stop there and then suddenly facing the wrong direction. But after my rear tires kind of hit back on the ground, I realized that I'm like, okay, none of my wheels are locked. The car kind of felt okay and was able to just kind of get it right back going the other direction and just wanted to make sure I could ease it through the grass, doing okay. I felt like I had plenty of space around me, so I was able to just kind of cool things down and then had a little bit of rear bodywork damage from it, but was able to make it work.
Now, that was probably the most incredible save I've seen in a little while, so congratulations for that. Take a clip, save it into our clips and saves of the season, and we might have a look at that later. It'd be awesome to see. But you didn't just have that to worry about, but you were challenging Austin, who's in chat with us, towards the end of the race. Now, it looked like you may have had the move done, but an error onto the straight kind of got you out of position again. Tell us a little bit about that.
This is referring to the second race, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I'd finally gotten the move done on Doyle. Credit to him for the incredible defense during race 2. And then going up through the boot, I thought I had him. I was trying to defend the inside as much as possible, but just a little bit too eager to run and get up the hill and try to get that gap on him and end up just letting the back end slip a little bit. And while still saving the car, keeping it out of the wall, obviously gave him both the time and space to just get right back on through and get his position back.
Yeah, it was incredible. You were putting a lot of pressure on him through the rest of the race, so it seemed like you may have had some opportunities, but just not quite enough to make the move stick. But really great driving overall, and a really great segue for us. Great, congratulations on the P3 in the second race, onto the podium, and looking ahead for the next race next week. Unless you're in the Open Series for more fun, then you might be racing again. But
yeah, unfortunately, only doing the Rookie Series for right now. As I get some more time on my hands and get more acclimated with GT4, I'm definitely open to doing the Open Series. But yeah, just wanted to thank you guys. You guys do an unreal job on the commentary every week so far. The presentation is unbelievable. And I seriously got to tip my cap to both Doyle and Estevez. Battled both those guys tooth and nail for both races in each. And both guys didn't give me much. Like, I had to really work for the moves that I made, and ultimately they made me pay for my mistakes. So both of them were fierce defensively. Both of them were aggressive, but within bounds on offense. And they didn't really give me too many opportunities to make a move respectfully. And obviously not going to go and be too aggressive on guys that I've just met just yet until I can really find their limits and push that. But yeah, no, just really buzzing to be having back-to-back top threes there.
Nairati, being the kind Canadian he is, says, just wait until I know you guys, and then I'm going to punch you off the track.
When I know your limits, that's when I'm going to hold you guys. Exactly. Once I know where your limits are, that's when I'm going to hold your guys' feet to the fire. So I'm going to be the nice, friendly Canadian for now until I know your guys' limits, then watch out.
Oh, well, great job, Mitch. Great P3 there, and look forward to seeing you back next week. Now, Austin, what a great defense, great pressure, and managing to get a P1 in the first race and a P2 in the second race. Tell us about your night today.
Well, honestly, from my end, it sounds bad that I finished first and second. I'm going to say it was a bad night, but personally, I think it was a really bad night for me. Going into turn 6 in the first race, not sure what happened. Got on the brakes at the normal spot and ended up running into the back of Gerald and kind of pushed him wide. And then the Porsche just seemed to have no pace over the stint. Not sure what was up with that. Just couldn't get the thing stopped as we went through the race. Don't know if it's because it was so hot out and the tires were overheating, but that BMW was so quick on the straights and in race number 2.
Yeah, we did see that pace of the straight line pace of the BMW. It was just unbelievable. But we did feel that the Porsche did have advantages in the corners. So as long as you were able to stay ahead, that gave enough of a challenge for the BMW to stay behind through the straights for quite some time, right? But yeah, just incredible job nonetheless of all the pressure, both from the front and from the back, that you were providing to the rest of the drivers.
Yep. Overall, just was a fun race either way. Had fun battling for second in that last race. That was good fun.
Well, congratulations, albeit not ideal from your perspective. Really good performance overall, and I'm sure sure you're going to be hopping into chat here later to apologize for the contact as we ask all of our drivers to do. So thanks for that, Austin. And again, great job tonight. Mitch, great job again. And great job to everybody out there who managed to have a clean race. And for those of you who didn't, you're going to be getting what's coming to you. There are a couple of things we saw that weren't the best of things. So, all right, folks, thank you so much. And we're going to get ourselves into the Open Series.
Awesome.
Now.
Austin, awesome racing, buddy. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, dude, that was so much fun. Can't wait to do it again next week.
Likewise.
There you have it, folks. And we're going to kick them out here and have them go be lovey-dovey somewhere else while we continue our broadcast here. Kuja, it was pretty fun first 2 races. Looks like we've had some great racing overall in the Rookie Series.
Yeah, really fun to watch those guys really learn how to compete in the sim racing world against people who they're gonna, I'm sure, become close friends with and race for a long time.
That is the hope for sure. As we are getting ready here, we are ready, and we are in qualifying in the Open Series. We have a good group of cars out there. A total of, if I can click on the right things here, which are potentially working and potentially not working. Need to connect here. A total of 24 cars again. Despite the fact that the pros have connected, it looks like a bunch of the rookies have dropped out. Not feeling quite ready to join the Open Series, but we do have the pros out on track trying to set their fastest laps.
Yeah, they'll have 10 minutes at the start of this 20-minute qualifying session to do that. You'll see just how fast and how close the grid will be at the front. Just a bit of a snake going on here as drivers trying to warm up their brakes, warm up their tires. A very quick session, so you don't really want to commit too many errors and get your tires to an suboptimal condition, because that'll cost you through that short stint that you have in the qualifying on those tires. See that Audi here of Reed lining up for a lap, building up a bit of a gap ahead to the car ahead, and blasting it down the start-finish straight, crossing the line to begin the lap into turn 1, the 90-degree bend. At this corner, there is a bit of leeway with the track limits. You can run pretty far over the curbs on the exit, as we see the Audi do. And now they approach the S's going up the hill through the left-hander, and it flattens out at the top as they go back to the right. Now onto the back straight, approaching the pretty heavy braking zone of the bus stop. Braking pretty early on there, riding the curbs pretty heavily, getting pretty bouncy on the exit of the first part of the bus stop, but able to maintain the car, and now sweeping around the hill, going up a slight little hill, and now back down the hill, down the chute into turn 6, heavy downhill braking zone, pretty fast corner still. You can maintain a lot of momentum going through there, and now going through the toe, turn 7. Pretty easy braking zone, or a pretty late braking zone that is, relative to some other corners. You have a lot of hill to work with that helps you to stop the car, but then it kind of hurts you as you go back up it to try and accelerate down this little straight before the braking zone of the heel at turn 8. Negotiating the track quite well. Can't run too wide there or else that'll invalidate your lap. Back up the hill into this off-cambered turn 9. Pretty hard to get the power down early through the corner as the gravity of the corner just takes the back end of the car away, and onto the final 2 very fast corners, a left-right complex, a dab of the brakes from the Audi, punching it through the final corner, getting as close to the wall as he can, in fact tapping the wall. That'll cost him a little bit of time going down this back straight, and into 5th place goes James Pierre Reed with a 1:55.0.
And some damage to carry at that. Looks like Ricardo Rivera in true form, sending this Alpine all the way up into P1 with almost 3/10 just behind Tyler and chat. Lovely few races. I'm pretty sure that's Tyler Morgan. Yeah, great job, Tyler. Saw a couple of your battles. Pretty intense. Oh no, Noodles. Ouch. Yep. That's not going to be ideal for JP Reed as he tries to regain composure and confidence to find some magic over the next couple of laps. Ricardo Rivera here in the Puerto Rico Racing Club livery, fashioning the Puerto Rican flag on top of this Alpine all the way up into P1, and right now on the timing charts with 2/10 advantage over that current time. Now we were looking at 55s, 56s in the previous race. I think 54.9 was Diaz's fastest lap, and we could see here that while Herald is quite fast, these guys are at a completely different level. Apparently the optimal line from these pros is tapping the wall over there as Rivera comes in with an improved 153.7.
Yeah, maybe there's some sort of boost pad us amateurs don't know about that they put into the game. Yeah, but really commanding lap time from Rivera. 4/10 now clear of the car in P2, which is the 46 McLaren. We'll see here if Reed can improve on his lap time from 7th place. He does jump up into 3rd place with a 154.440. 7/10 back of P1, but getting the Audi into a pretty good starting position for the race ahead. Alex Winchester negotiating the bus stop chicane, getting very drifty through the middle part in the number 2 Mercedes, and he is gonna peel off to the side after getting pretty loose through the bus stop there.
Yeah, pretty impressive he caught that regardless, but yeah, not ideal, I should say. Yeah, so I'm interested to see what happens here. It looks like Beachley has gotten himself into P3 position. Justin Beachley, what? Where have you found all the speed from, dude? 6 tenths behind Ricardo Rivera is a pretty incredible pace. I used to race Justin Beachley in the back end not so long ago. Beachley clearly putting some practice and finding incredible pace. And while it is not quite up to that P1 standard, podium behind Ricardo Rivera and Dan Brace is an incredible spot to be. So credit to Justin on making all the way up there. But he's going to have to defend that, and this lap is not quite going to be the one, considering it's invalidated to end 1.5 seconds slower than his best. Now we're looking for improvements. 3/10 up on his lap so far. George Almer is going to need every bit of that to try and find the position to Winchester just up ahead. Now going into the third sector here, as he makes his way around the heel through turn 8, now into 9 and 10, just trying to finish the lap here. That 3/10 advantage is something he's really gonna want to hold, because it's not a lot, and he's for sure gonna get one position if he doesn't invalidate here, but is really fighting to get more to get up into the top 10 of Winchester. Number 2 Winchester Mercedes. Is it going to be enough? Looks like the Mercedes may not have the best advantage here, and he does do it with some time to spare, and that is a 2/10 advantage for George Elmer over Alex Winchester.
Good for the 22 Mercedes to get into the top 10. We'll see James Pierre Reed. I believe this is his out lap, so he'll have to go around again, but does have time to do so. Has 7/10 to try and get up to P1 of Ricardo Rivera, but that'll be quite a mountain to climb as he climbs the hill of turn 3, the second part of the S's. The number 15 Audi makes a great noise, really, that V10 as it thunders up the hill. We'll see if he can improve on his time, though. Probably will be one of the last drivers on track to see if he can improve his time, as the qualifying time is going to tick down to that 10-minute mark. Just up ahead, we have Frane Okendo in the 757 Porsche in 5th place, 8.5 seconds back of pole position. But the field is pretty tight from 3rd to 10th. Oh, unfortunately for the driver of the Porsche, spins off into the wall, and that is going to be his qualifying session over. He's not going to be able to improve on his time. We'll see if he will be able to keep 5th position, though. Potts Weaver in another Porsche here, the number 13 car, going through the S's for his final attempt as the amateur drivers, I believe, are allowed to start rolling out on track.
You know, I've been trying to click on the drivers that have some sort of time advantage, and every time we've clicked on them, they've either lost it immediately or crashed. And it looks like the last couple of drivers left here as Alex Hansen jumps into P2 with an incredible 154.092 just behind JP Reed up into P2 now. My goodness, the battle for the top 3 heated, super heated. JP Reed only 0.2 behind Ricardo Rivera, and that's where we kind of expected him. Definitely not finding the opportunity in the first couple of laps, but besting Alex Hansen, Dan Brace, Beachley to get up into that P2 spot. JP Reed driving all the way from Australia. And over here, we do have a question in chat. Look pretty sweet. What's Elmer's livery? Well, oh no, Noodles. It just so happens that we do have a livery redeem that you could use to do that. Now let me know if you don't have sufficient points or for sufficient liters of fuel to redeem that livery review, and I'd be happy to try and figure out an alternative way, as Potts Weaver here taking the optimal line, rubbing up against the wall to try and find some speed, but just does not manage to do so. And that'll be P8 for Potts Weaver. P8 for Potts Weaver, firming up the pro classes here, which is Rivera, Reed, Hansen, Brace, Beachley, Okendo, Freeman, Weaver, Provolone, Torres, Elmer, Winchester, Sullivan, Skyhook, ending with Chronotis. Now, are any of the rookies going to have enough to find speed to best some of these pros? Now, look at that. Venturi RL, thank you so much. I don't mean to be mean. I'm just trying to encourage some usage of the points there. I would have done it anyways, to be honest with you. But let's go in and have a look at what Elmer's livery looks like while we wait for the outlap or the first laps of some of these rookies. It is a Voltron Legendary Defender livery, fashioning some fantastic logos. Simnut Racing, the George Elmer Company, Grosswork Design, Randy Gross. Holy smokes! And some of that. Sultan314, thank you so much for the subscription. Really appreciate it. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Randy Gross makes some fantastic liveries. I do like the yellow accent that he's got on the bottom there and on the trim of the wing here. Super cool. Lots of detail. A Gross special. Yeah, Sultan, thank you so much. Hope you're doing well. 1 month subscription, that's almost a whole year. There we have it. And that is the livery of George Elmer. George Elmer, made by Grosswork Design, which I presume is Randy Gross. Looks like we already have some improvements out there as Mariko Yatanashi gets ahead of Professor Chronotis' no lap time set. Unfortunately, I wonder if Chrono entered the lobby a bit too late to set a lap.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what Chronotis' race pace will look like, as we're not able to see what sort of pace he has during qualifying. Austin Doyle joining the race from the rookies before, setting a good lap time here in 12th place overall, 1.5 seconds back of Rivera. At the moment, leading the amateurs. Yatanashi and Porkchop and Lily Chambers are the other amateurs so far to have set lap times. Yatanashi, Porkchop, and Chambers in 16th, 17th, and 18th respectively so far. See all of the amateur drivers out on track at the moment. See if any of them can improve on the times they have set, or set some sort of time, as there is less than 5 minutes left to go in qualifying. Austin Doyle here negotiating the hill, entering the boot in the number 11 AO Racing Porsche. Running a little bit wide, but still able to maintain a good pace around the corner. Might pick up a little bit of a slipstream from the Aston Martin ahead. Might pick up a slight advantage there as they get to the closing stages of the lap. Pretty tricky corner to get right up here, as the corner is kind of turning away from you the entire way through. The Aston peels off to the side, presumably on an outlap or some sort of disallowed lap, letting the car behind through. Fast left-hander coming up to the final corner at turn 11. We'll see if he takes the pro line of tapping the wall on the outside. Not quite this time, maybe saving it for the last lap attempt. And up to the line. Not quite able to improve on his lap time, just a couple of tenths off, but still 3 minutes to go to set a lap time that is faster.
Yeah, you know what's really fun is coming away from the Rookie Series and looking at the winner of the Rookie Series and going, oh my goodness, that was so fast. I don't know if I would have been able to do any better. And then coming into the Open Series and looking at where the rookies end up, even with their incredible pace, Austin Doyle is currently 12th position. Now, he did have 2 tenths in hand when we first clicked on him, but losing that in the last couple corners and missing the apex, now finding the optimal line. But just goes to show, like, Austin Doyle probably would have gapped me just like Rivera's gapping him. But it's crazy to see how many tiers of speed there are between these drivers, and that there's the rookies, those who are brand new to sim racing. And then there's the next tier, like me, who's slightly better than the rookies. And then there's like the Austin Doyles and Kuja. You're probably up there in the fast amateur, not pros, but like to kind of twinkling into that pro area. And then you got the Ricardo Riveras, and then it feels like there's another tier above that where you get into like the Boothbys and the Jardiers and all those guys. Crazy how much faster these people are.
Yeah, it's always fun to get into a lobby with a bunch of those guys and just see how slow you are, really. Just to try to stay on the same lap as them through some sort of endurance races or charity races that you might be entered in. But yeah, as you mentioned, it's really incredible to see that the winners from the previous races before just being 1.4 seconds back of the pole position setter at the moment. And just improving a little bit on his lap time, but not quite able to pick up any positions as he stays here in 12th place. Looking a little bit behind, Maverick is going to be in second of the amateur class in 14th overall. Yatanashi in the 53 Aston in third place of the rookies. Then Santos and Porkchop, followed by Spady Bud, Lily Chambers, Renali, and Georgeson, who is yet to set a lap, but still has some time on the board to do so. Here we got Lily Chambers in the Starlight Racing Porsche, currently 3.3 seconds back of pole position, but still able to set a lap here, and we're just going to see if she is able to improve. Hear that Porsche roar through the straight. The GT4s are a pretty small car size-wise, but some of them do sound quite nice and pack quite a punch that you can hear from quite a distance away on these cameras too.
Yeah, I mean, they sound pretty cool here. I just can't imagine how cool it would be to actually be racing in one. I just love, probably one of my favorite sounds is the sound of that whine of the straight cut gears. Just incredible. I love that sound.
Yeah, you really can't get it anywhere other than a racetrack.
Yeah. Straight cut gears, not quite optimal for production cars. Lonely Chambers comes here through the last couple of corners, through the heel, going into turn 9, trying to find some advantage. Relatively neutral right now. No gains, no losses. 2 more corners to go for the end of this qualifying. Pretty decent apex. Ooh, too wide. That's an invalidation, unfortunately. Which might not be too big a loss considering she didn't have much of a pace advantage there, but someone who does have some pace in hand, that was 3/10, now lost down to 1/10 advantage. Yatanashi here needs to find something, very little thing that Yatanashi needs to find, which is only 6.5 hundredths of a second to gain that position on Sullivan. Was up 3/10, now down 2/10 with 3 corners to go. Yatanashi's going to want to find something magical here in the next couple corners to get that position away from Sullivan.
Yeah, unfortunately, the commentator's curse seeming to come into play in this qualifying session for some of the drivers. We'll see if Yatanashi can negotiate the final 2 corners and gain any sort of positions that he can, running a little bit wide over the curbs, and that, I believe, is going to invalidate his lap. And the last driver on track in the 74 Mercedes taking the pro line, tapping the wall, up to the line. Maverick, where can he go?
Not much improvement.
Yeah, and unfortunately just going to stay in 14th place, but he's going to be in 2nd place on the amateur field. Just 1.5 seconds back of pole positions, which is really not a bad pace to be at in that amateur class.
Yeah, pretty decent performance. Improvement from the last time. He was probably like 5th or 6th. So that's a pretty good position for Maverick to be. Good job. Yeah, so let's check out what's going on on the grid here. And I'll let you start off there, Kuja.
Yeah, sounds good. Ricardo Rivera with a really blistering pace at the top. I believe around 4/10 or 2/10 clear of the next car, number 1 Puerto Rico E-Racing Club Alpine. In 2nd place, the lone Audi on the grid, the number 15 of James Pierre Reed. In 3rd place, the McLaren of Alex Hansen in the 390 McLaren Mercedes Suffering. Just behind him in the fellow McLaren, the 46 of Dan Brace. Justin Beachley in the 18 Mercedes AMG in the Beach GT machine. The first of the Porsches is Efrain Akendo in the 757. First Aston Martin of the grid, the number 14 of Alex Freeman in the AF Sport. Potts Weaver in the Team Charmin liveried number 13 Porsche. In 9th place, Jason Provolone in the 82 Alpine. And rounding out the top 10 is Ramon Torres in the Puerto Rico E-Racing Club 181 Porsche.
And we have the lovely livery of the Simnut Voltron Mercedes in P11 of George Elmer. Austin Doyle coming in P12, the best of the rookies in the AO Racing Porsche. P13 going to Alex Winchester in the Duocente TTV BTW. Probably streaming right now. Go check them out. Last off, Maverick. P2 for the rookies. P14 overall. Scott Sullivan in the Strive Mercedes. Lovely livery. Kind of overshadowed by a lot of fencing here at Watkins Glen. Mariko Yatanashi Nine Tail Racing in P16, Rod Skyhook in P17, Jack Santos in P18, Dr. Porkchop in 19, Spady Bud in 20, Lily Chambers 21, Wade George in 22, and Stefano Rinaldi in P23. And there you have it. That's the grid. Unfortunately, looks like we're missing a certain someone. Professor Kernotis. What happened? Where did you go? I know he didn't set a lap, which was kind of interesting, but Chrono doesn't miss races. Antonio Mateo, let's go Puerto Rico. We have a lot of Puerto Ricans in the race today. All the way up into P1, we have Ricardo Rivera. Quite a few more I'm sure we've read. Let's see, I think Efrain, another Puerto Rican, so that's 2. Ramon Torres in 3. Who else do we have? Do we have one more? I'm pretty sure we had one more. Santos, yep. Jack Santos, P4. That's 4 Puerto Ricans on the grid. Any more? I don't think I've missed any. Sullivan, I know it's not. Porkchop, the Canadian. Georgeson, nope. Oh, he's back. He's back. I think he. I bet you he had a setup issue and he's reloading or hardware issue. But Chrono back in pink, as you would expect. This is the battle that I'm going to be really curious about. Hello, Aaron. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. This is going to be exciting. I don't know what the straight line speed of that Audi is like, but what I do know is that the Alpine isn't necessarily the greatest in straight line. So Kuja, I'm really interested to see how this plays out between the Puerto Rican Ricardo Rivera and the Australian James Pierre-Reid, both Islanders.
Yeah, we saw in the last race of the rookie series that the BMW had a massive overrun on the Porsche, fighting for the podium position. So we'll see if that's at a similar position that the Alpine is going to be in, having to defend from the Audi down the straights, but having an advantage through the corners. Being a very small and nimble car that it is, you can visually see how small it is compared to some of the other cars, the McLaren and the Audi, looking absolutely massive compared to that little machine.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's kind of cool also, if you think about it, how these two cars are kind of like in real life very different class cars. You know, like the Audi is a supercar and the Alpine's kind of like this sports car. You know, I could afford an Alpine, whereas the R8's kind of like, oh my gosh, someone has an R8. Ooh, you know, and the McLaren, but they're all on the grid at the same time. Hello, Adam Strange. Welcome. We are about to go into the race. The third race of the day, the first and only 50-minute race in the Open Series here. The GT4 Opens with the pros and the rookies all on the track at the same time here at Watkins Glen, about to round turn 11. Hopefully nobody takes the pro line of smashing into the wall right before the start of the race. Everybody lining up in the zipper formation here. P1 and P2 trying to position themselves in the most optimal spot they possibly can. Ricardo Rivera, James Pierre-Reid, Alex Hansen, top 3, looking for a phenomenal start. Will they get it? 50 minutes left in the race. They're about to go green. The excitement is tingling, and we do get green lights on the boards. Looks like JP Reed gets a fantastic start as Ricardo Rivera laid into braking. JP on the outside. not quite enough. Ricardo Rivera getting that dominant spot. Now Alex Hansen dropping down into P4 behind Dan Brace. Dan Brace in the gold and maroon something livery. It's up for you guys to guess what livery that is, but it looks like most of the people, if not everybody, get through the first couple corners cleanly as Ricardo Rivera still dominant in P1, managing to keep that position. JP Reed getting a lot of speed, trying to get up next to Ricardo Rivera, does manage to pull ahead. Ricardo Rivera, JP Reed side by side, managing to go through this complex, and do manage to go through. Rivera still up ahead. JP going on the outside, big send on the outside, but then looks like the Alpine has magnificent mid-corner speed, manages to pull ahead as Rivera still up at JP Reed, late braking, makes a mistake, does fantastic job not to make contact, but that does drop him down into 4th position as we continue to watch what's going on in the rest of the race here today.
Yeah, fantastic start from Rivera, able to hold off the absolutely brutal overspeed of the cars behind into the bus stop, side by side, able to maintain his position at P1. We're going to take a look at a replay here, see what happened to Austin Doyle, the first of the amateur class runners, going down the hill of the chute around turn 6 into the very tight turn 7. Car on the outside there. Oh, and he just taps one of the Porsches ahead and spins around the wrong way and gets tapped by one of the other cars and gets tapped a little bit more, and one thing causes another, and that's gonna trickle down to a few cars and hopefully not picking up too much damage. We'll see how those cars are able to work their way through the field in the rest of the race.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate for Ramon Torres. I don't know if I saw how that came into play, as the camera wasn't necessarily at an optimal angle, but looks like we do have another battle building up for P1 position. Dan Brace sending it again ahead of Ricardo Rivera. That straight line speed definitely playing a factor for Rivera. Dan Brace making it up into P1 in that mighty McLaren. Now, is this going to be where Ricardo Rivera comes into play? The nimble Alpine trying to look for an advantage. It's just, once you get ahead, it becomes that much harder for the Alpine to get that position back. That's what's so great about the McLaren, is that if you have a track with longer straights, then you're kind of wanting to be in the McLaren. Now, the deficit that you get in the McLaren is that it's got this auto brake bias thing that some people get along with and some people don't. But it looks like Ricardo Rivera has had to tuck in behind Dan Brace and just has had to give away that P1 position. But I'm sure that won't be the end of it, as we have seen Ricardo Rivera come back from an incredible race last week with variable conditions, driving dries all the way through relatively wet and damp conditions. And this is where you have it. This is where you get the calm head of Ricardo Rivera continuously challenging Dan Brace for that P1 position. So tight, only a couple of tenths between the two, less than 2 tenths between the two, I would guess, even less than a tenth between the two, as Ricardo Rivera continues to tuck behind that McLaren. That McLaren probably giving the Alpine quite a bit of advantage, but that's not enough because Alex Hansen and the McLaren just behind, trying to gain position ahead of Ricardo Rivera. Now, this is going to be a spot that Ricardo Rivera does not want to be in. Sandwiched between two McLarens, maybe kind of sort of being held up by one and being challenged by another one, as Alex Hansen gets an incredible drive onto the back straight. Is it going to be enough to pull up right next to Ricardo Rivera? There is quite a bit of a gap right now. He does have a look. He does make Ricardo Rivera think about it, but it's just not quite enough. And Rivera stays in that P2 position as the cars behind now challenging for position. Potts Weaver, Alex Freeman looking ahead at JP Reed in P4.
Good battle going on for the lead there, as Reed in the 15 Audi continuing to just venture a little bit off track, costing him position, starting in P2, now dropping back into P5. Alex Freeman trying to defend a little bit behind him from the challenging Porsche of Potts Weaver. The Porsche looks pretty aggressive through all the braking zones, but the Aston Martin able to stay ahead where it matters and not letting that Porsche get too close to pull off any sort of moves. He's going to try to stay as close as he can to the Audi in front, though, as he sees the Australian Reed making a few mistakes ahead and going to try to capitalize on anything big that might potentially happen, as it looked like the Audi was going just a little hair wide, but able to keep it going, as here we have Austin Doyle making his way up into the top 10, the leader of the amateur class. Gonna try and, oh, there's a parked Mercedes, I believe, just on the inside there. That's the 74 of Maverick, maybe trying to make his way back to the pits, but just parked in a pretty bad spot at the apex of the final corner. Hopefully all of the other cars are able to make it through, as here he is finally able to get rolling. Maybe just picking up some steering damage and not able to go through some certain parts of the track. Hopefully we'll be able to get it stopped into the pit lane, as we have Alex Hansen continuing to challenge Ricardo Rivera for the second step of the podium. Now Alex Hansen holds the fastest lap of the race in third place. The Alpine in a bit of a McLaren sandwich here, not trying to get too far from Dan Brace, but also not letting Alex Hansen get too close behind. And while these guys are battling, that's going to let Beachley behind in fourth place close that gap.
Yeah, battles all over the place. We have Pottsweaver challenging Alex Freeman up ahead for that P6 position. Antonio Mateo, thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate it. Puerto Rico, PR, let's go. We have some challenges on your fellow Puerto Rican. 757 of Efrain Oquendo. Is that how you say it? Being challenged up front and trying to gain a position of George Elmer just up ahead. A Mercedes sandwich. Doesn't look like the Mercedeses have the best pace here today, as the group of them relatively low to mid. You know, I'd say the distribution is lower than most considering the positions, and the McLarens really, I think, the ones that are of the advantage here today. Now, Efrain looking for some position gains, but it's going to be tough with the straight line speed disadvantage as they go through the back straight. Efrain trying to duck in behind the slipstream of that Mercedes. The little car ducking in behind the monster Mercedes. Is there going to be any advantage that Efrain can gain? Don't think so. Even tucking behind, it's going to be the Mercedes of Scott Sullivan that's going to be pressuring Efrain just behind. But this group of three looking for the smallest mistake to gain any type of advantage, and still the tightest battle on track. Efrain going really wide. Is this going to be an opportunity for Scott Sullivan? But no, looks like that wide line did gain him delta up to the car ahead of George Elmer.
Yeah, taking a pretty wide line on that exit, but not going too wide, as we see Scott Sullivan making a move down the inside of turn number 6, and that pushes the Porsche, sorry, that was turn 7, and he pushes the Porsche out wide. And unfortunately for Oquendo, that's going to push him into the wall and going to pick up a bit of damage on that Porsche. We'll see if that'll cost him a significant amount of lap time, as it might be beneficial for him to box early to get that damage fixed. Of course, during this 50-minute race, the drivers do have a mandatory pit stop to serve, so we'll just have to wait and see how that will play out towards the end of the race. But we'll see if he is able to close down the gap ahead to the fellow Mercedes, or sorry, not the fellow Mercedes, but just the Mercedes ahead of Sullivan after they made contact in turn 7. But also not trying to let any sort of gap behind get closer and closer. Doesn't want to lose any more positions than he needs to.
I do want to go back and see what's happening here. Looks like we've got a lot of damage for Spady Butt ahead. Ramon Torres now looking up ahead of Spady Butt. Looks like they all got into a situation. Professor Cronotis choosing to pit, Spady Butt not doing so. I'm not sure if that's the smartest idea, considering we see the Porsche getting ahead of a Mercedes on a straight line. Not something we've said so far, considering the Mercedes straight line advantage. That's a lot of damage for Spady Butt, and really something you should consider going into the pits with. And that is the position for the Puerto Rican fans here going up into P19. A win for Puerto Rico of Ramon Torres up into P19, or 18 I should say. Alex Winchester here looking for a battle with Rod Skyhook, aka Mason Perchalski, in another pink Mercedes. Welcome, Joe Mama. Yay! Love watching this stuff. You can, I mean, it's up to you. I don't think we have a don't swear thing. I'm not gonna do it, considering, you know, we're broadcasting, but yeah, keep it decent is what I'll say. Welcome. Hope you're having fun. Hope you're enjoying this third race of the night. We have 38 minutes left in this 50-minute race, and it is the Open Series, which was followed before or preceded by the Rookie Series, the 2 races, 20-minute no pit stop races of the rookies, of which Austin Doyle did come in P1 and P2, and now is fighting for the P7 position up ahead of Potts Weaver. And Maverick, get back on track. I know you had an incident, but get back. Keep telling people, do not quit. You know, people end up quitting and they lose a lot of potential positions. Hope you get back on track, Maverick. Yeah, unfortunately, this is PC only. We do PC ACC, we do PC Le Mans Ultimate, and we do iRacing as well. So if you are interested in joining us, please feel free. Type that in there. You're welcome to join us. Sounds like you might not be in the PC world. Oh goodness, that sucks. Yeah, we do have, I think I have a couple of suggestions. If you're an Xbox, we could try to recommend a couple of championships out there that you could join. We don't run it, but happy to provide more racing anywhere, as we see Justin Beachley here just behind Alex Hansen, both looking like they might have been held up by the 42 of Professor Cronotis. Beachley, or I should say Alex Hansen, through Cronotis doing Beachley not any favors, holding him up, and a bit of a wiggle at that.
Yeah, these guys pushing so hard, even though they're not racing in the same race. Cronotis already making his pit stop, so they're on completely different strategies, but just holding up his fellow Mercedes just that little bit and letting Hansen build that gap a little bit, so just so he can't quite close up. And it looks like we had a change for the lead up front. Ricardo Rivera is now back in the lead after losing it to Dan Brace. Not quite sure what that happened, but seems like Ricardo Rivera has picked up the pace and found an advantage and gotten by the McLaren. But as we've seen earlier, the McLaren does have a massive amount of straight line speed advantage over the Alpine down the back straight on the exit of the S's. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out in the remaining 36 minutes of the race. Just behind them, though, Alex Hansen trying his very best to get away from Beachley. Ricardo Rivera, though, at the front with about a 1 second advantage to the McLaren behind. That gap is going to close up through Sector 1 as the McLaren has that straight line speed, but through this back section, the Alpine will be very nimble and very quick through the twisty section of Watkins Glen.
Yeah, goodness, I don't have a good indicator of when Rivera retook the lead, but chat, very happy. Puerto Rico back in the lead, and they're all about it. It almost looks like a Captain America kind of you know, situation with the single star, but I know that's not what it is. I may or may not admit to once mistaking Ricardo Rivera from being from Costa Rica. Maybe did or didn't happen. I don't know. I had my Latin Americans confused for a second, but it was only for a short second, and I'm sorry that it ever happened, and I didn't just re-bring it up for no reason.
Yeah, going along with the Captain America theme, the car behind of Dan Brace sporting a pretty similar to Iron Man kind of looking with that dark red and gold look. So the Marvel theme is strong in the top two.
It's a common mistake that is an Iron Man livery, as that is what I questioned once before, but it is not. I have asked him before, and I haven't told anybody what livery that is, because you guys need to guess. It is a livery representing something, but it is not Iron Man. Neither is Ricardo Rivera's, for that matter. So Iron Man or Avengers 1 and 2, really, but not really. Avengers-ish 1 and 2.
Avengers lookalikes.
Yeah. Knockoffs. There you have it. Nairati coming in and saying Doyle had an absolutely otherworldly save, had me convinced car was going to end up on its roof, but didn't. The Revengers. That's funny. Do you wish they had the Corvette in this game? Honestly, they should. Not really. I think those who really want to drive the Corvette just go and drive iRacing and do it and have a lot of fun, because it is there and a lot of people enjoy it. So that's my neutral response, I suppose.
Yeah, luckily we were treated to some American power when they introduced the Ford Mustang GT3 into ACC, so that was at least a nice little treat for the American muscle lovers.
Yeah.
Granted, the Corvette isn't much of a muscle car nowadays.
Ooh, them be
It's
fighting
more of a
words.
sports car. Yeah, I agree. Once they went rear-engined, it's a completely different beast.
Okay, I see how you shifted that. I can see it. Okay, that's all right. Oh my goodness, Professor Kurnotis getting hit with a drive-through on top of his woes. Just not a good day for Professor Kurnotis, unfortunately. Wade Georgeson here in P19 in the Beast B3 United.
Yeah, it's a very good looking livery. I love all the pops of colors that spot. You can really spot it from a distance, especially in the setting golden hour light. It's a good time to really get a look at the beautiful liveries that all these drivers are sporting.
It looks like
in
there's
the race today.
Pretty decent gap all over, and while Georgeson looks at going into the pits, we could have a quick livery dive and see what he's got going on. Venom, Bad Boy, a Rhino back there, not quite sure what that's representing. 707. Bitfire. Bit Halloweeny theme, I would say, in the front there on the roof. Jarrah 6. Now, Kuja, being the owner of a community, what would you say I think is missing on here?
Oh, some logos of a certain community.
Maybe not, you know.
But hey, to each their own. If they've already got plenty of stickers, it's hard to find room for more.
Oh, I don't know. How about this spot here? Or this spot here?
We found some room for improvements.
Or this spot here, or this spot here, or this spot here, or maybe this spot here, or even, you know what? I would take this spot down here at this point.
Maybe he's looking for some sort of sponsorship deal before that happens.
Yeah. Or maybe this spot here, or like right here, this spot here, this spot here, over here. Oh, look at this spot here. Oh, there's even a little nice square over here. I'm a jerk. I'm sorry. Rivera firmly up into P1 still. Let's look and see if there are any battles happening. Support your communities, people. Speaking of supporting your communities, we are actively driving to increase some membership here at Trackalicious. And if you are a valued member and are looking to help support the peoples around here, check out our Patreon. Sign up. Be a friend. Be a friend to Ricardo Rivera, who's all the way up into P1 with very little challenge. Help us help you all to put some awesome championships up. More Puerto Ricans in chat. Raymond Antonio or Raymond D'Antonio, whichever one you want to say. Welcome, first time chatter. Hope you're doing well. Sounds like supporting a lot of Puerto Ricans out here in the race. We do have Ricardo Rivera leading the race with several behind. Next fastest Puerto Rican is Efrain Oquendo up into P12. Much better position earlier, but just unfortunately got into a situation. But that is where they are. Remainder of the Puerto Ricans, I think, a little bit farther down the grid here as Oquendo gets another spot as more people pit. We have Freeman, Bud, Jortson, Provolone, Chronotis, Renali, Chambers already pitted with Rivera, Brace, Hansen, Reed, Weaver, Doyle, Beachley, Sullivan, Skyhook, Winchester, Oquendo, Elmer, Yatanashi, Porkchop, Torres, and Santos, who have yet to pit on the grid. Hope everyone's doing well. Third race of the night, the first race and only race in the Open GT4 series here with 27 minutes left in the race, almost halfway through at the 25-minute mark. And we have had some exciting racing so far tonight and are looking forward to some more. I'm joined by Kuja Terekov here in the booth with me, who's been doing some awesome commentary. Kuja, lots of racing left to go.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Yeah, looking forward to what the race has to bring as we see some of the front runners beginning to make their pit stops. Justin Beachley pitting from 4th place, just a couple of tenths off of the podium of Alex Hansen. So it'll be interesting to see how that strategy plays out towards the end of the race. Based on the timing charts, it looks like he was able to get himself out in a pretty decent gap, so we'll see what sort of pace he can pull out in clean air and maybe undercut Alex Hansen and get himself up into a podium position. Meanwhile, though, at the front, all remains the same. I lied. Alex Hansen is going to dive into the pits to try to prevent that undercut from happening. We'll see if the 390 McLaren will be able to keep that position ahead of Beachley after he exits the pits. Just a couple more drivers coming into the pits as well. Sullivan in the 43 pitting from 9th place. Oh, and unfortunately for Hansen, he has to move the car a little bit backwards into the pit spot. That might cost him those precious seconds he needed to stay ahead of Justin Beachley, who is on track with warm tires already going around, and hopefully for him is going to be able to pick up that last step of the podium from Alex Hansen.
25-second minimum pit time mandated to make things interesting. The option, repair damage, the option to choose whether you are going to add a change of tires or not. Hansen coming out of the pits, but not quite soon enough. Beachley does manage to make it out up ahead of Hansen. Hansen having to tuck behind. Beachley probably effectively 3rd or 4th now.
3rd.
Okay, so he's got Reed to worry about, Brace to worry about, and those will be the cars just around. But Rivera seems to be in solid position. If I were to guess, I would think that Rivera went full fuel and is gonna just duck in for a no tire change, considering that he was slower seemingly relative to the other drivers before.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how that pit strategy plays out as we reach that halfway mark of the race, that 25-minute mark. Brace and Reed diving into the pits, releasing Pottsweaver into some clean air ahead, going for the long stint at the start compared to some of the other drivers behind who have already stopped. More than half the grid already completed their pit stops, actually, with the sun setting in the background. Around Watkins, Glen, Rivera in the lead, having completed 13 laps already, has a pretty significant advantage over Pottsweaver, driving in second place. We'll have to wait and see where he comes out after his pit stop as even more drivers start ducking into the pits.
This
Here
is
we
the
have...
Sorry,
Go ahead.
this is the one I'm going to be interested to see is whether, Brace does get ahead of JP. Quite a bit ahead. He's still in the spot there. I'm not quite sure if that was 5 seconds, but I presume that JP Reed did take tires. He was losing quite a bit of pace towards the end of his stint there. And let's see what that delta is between himself and Dan Brace. I'm not quite sure what it was before. 9 seconds, it looks like, on the board. And we'll see what that becomes later. Tucking in behind Alex Hansen for JP Reed. But the real question is he going to be ahead or behind of Pottsweaver? Pottsweaver was doing a pretty good job of catching up to JP Reed and was just behind Reed when Reed decided to jump into the pits. Now, of the pitters, we have Dan Brace, Beachley 3 seconds behind, Hansen 2 seconds behind that. So the grid's still pretty close up front. Freeman managing to make up a spot. That's actually not Hansen, that's Freeman, both running yellow and black liveries but different cars. And then JP Reed just behind that. So that is your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we really want to see what happens when Weaver and Ricardo Rivera come into the pits.
Yeah, Rivera is in the box now, so presumably he will stay ahead of that bunch. He had a pretty good 3-second advantage over the McLaren in second place as Pottsweaver here negotiating a bit of traffic, able to make it through, but cutting it very close to that concrete barrier on the inside of the first part of the bus stop. But able to get through cleanly. Ricardo Rivera back out on track ahead of, who is that, Dan Brace in second place, who just is approaching turn 1 now. And Ricardo Rivera, yeah, has a pretty clear advantage at the front. We'll have to wait and see how these battles for the last couple of positions on the podium will play out, as Beachley was able to jump a few cars through the pit stop. We'll just have to wait and see how their place plays out, whether they took new tires or whether they didn't. But yeah, just a waiting game and see where all the drivers will come out after the pits. Pottsweaver, the last one of the drivers in the top 10 yet to make their pit stop, so we'll have to wait and see where he comes out.
We do have a one biddy shared by Adam Strange with a question: who has more aura, Miley Cyrus or Oscar Piastri? Well, that's an easy one for me, considering I know little to nothing about Miley Cyrus. I'm gonna go with Oscar Piastri. Easy one right there.
I would have to agree. I guess it kind of depends on what aura you're looking for.
Zip, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Indeed, you have Eric on the mic to your great discontent. Unfortunately, Mike Noss is the day off and the days off, but I am here supported by the great, the not infamous, yeah, we'll just say famous, Kuja Terekov on the 1s and 2s, doing well in this broadcast. We have a lot of racing that we've watched so far and a lot of racing to come yet, as Ricardo Rivera has jumped into P1 again, just ahead of Dan Brace. And by just ahead, I mean quite a bit ahead. as he continues to gain delta ahead of the rest of the cars here. The one thing that we are curious about, did Pottsweaver pit? Pottsweaver did pit. Where did he end up though? Coming out of the pits, is he going to be ahead of JP Reed, who he was battling going into the pits? Looks like he does have Freeman coming out and JP Reed just behind. Now I presume that given the delta, which is about 4 to 5 seconds, that if I were to guess, Pottsweaver did not take tires and JP Reed did. Now the question's going to be, with 19 minutes left to go, is that going to be enough for JP Reed to catch up? Does he have the pace? We saw his incredible qualifying. We've seen him struggle through the race pace before, but that was mixed conditions, so that was something that was very dependent on tire selection, and unfortunately for him, he had the wrong tire selection. Fortunately for us today, that's not really a question, so it would just be about pressures that he would have been very familiar with in the first stint. So this is going to be a hunt down that we see from both Alex Freeman and JP Reed onto Pottsweaver, who's currently dominating 6th place.
Yeah, a good long stint from Pottsweaver sees him jump the competitors behind of Freeman and Reed, and like you mentioned, it'll be interesting to see whether he can maintain that advantage from what we presume his competitors took on fresh rubber. So we'll have to wait and see if that advantage will play out for the guys behind. But ahead is the last person to go into the pits, is the lead amateur car of Doyle. Oh, as these cars run very wide through turn 10. Hopefully not picking up too much track limits, as we see the pro line being put to use there, hitting the barrier on the outside, but not gonna cost, that is gonna cost Pottsweaver a little bit of time as they go side by side into turn 1. The Porsche, though, really good on the brakes through the corners, able to stay ahead, but we'll see if the Aston can tuck in through the S's and onto that back straight and get some sort of straight line speed advantage before the braking of the bus stop. Getting very close bumper to bumper, now pulling alongside, taking the outside line. Now they go side by side into the bus stop. Does the Porsche have a braking advantage to stay ahead? It does not. The Aston pulls off a great move to stay ahead of the Porsche into the bus stop. Now just has to try to maintain that advantage through the rest of the lap and try to pull ahead down the straights. Meanwhile, while these guys are battling, this lets JP Reed and the Audi behind close the gap. He's now pretty close to the tail of the Porsche, trying to get those positions that he lost from the beginning of the race, but unfortunately for the Audi, getting a little bit wide and then a little bit squirrely on the power. But Pottsweaver going to try to stay as close as he can to this Aston and trying to get any sort of position back that he can.
Yeah, and we were calling it earlier. It does look like Potts did not take tires, and JP Reed is hunting down Pottsweaver for that now P7 position. What happened? That was P6 that they were fighting for. Looks like Freeman.
Oh, that was Doyle. Doyle went into the pits.
Oh,
he was the last guy that needed a pit still.
Yeah, I gotcha. So while we're waiting for JP to hunt down Pottsweaver, which won't be too long, catching up in chat, welcome Adam Strange. I don't know what the Bangers era was. And, you know, I've generally tried to avoid anything Miley Cyrus, to be honest with you. Probably a very good artist, and I'm a huge music fan, but just wasn't my style. Zippy, thank you for the suggestion. I think this is a bit of an equipment limitation, not necessarily on the broadcast side. We'll have to figure that out down the road. Andy Estevez, welcome, first chatter. Andy Estevez 9 with triple flames. Absolutely, we have some fire racing going on tonight. Incredible. And yes, the Reds on the timing chart are the AM division, as JP Reed does manage to get side by side with Pottsweaver. It's something that we expected was coming. Is this going to be the moment in which he gets it done? He is firmly ahead, Pottsweaver, tucking in behind the incredible pace of that Audi. And is he going to be able to keep it as they go through the tumultuous bus stop here? And yes, that is firmly secured for JP Reed as we go through the lovely sunset here at Watkins Glen up into the northern New York area. And it is a track of which many of us here at Trackless are talking about going to later in June or July. Conversation started. I think we're gonna have a pretty good group. I'm gonna try to go, Kuja. I think it's gonna be a fun time. If I'm able to get away from the kids, I am gonna be there. And while I'm talking about going to this track to watch some incredible racing, we are here simulating some incredible racing, and Justin Beachley just behind Alex Hansen in alternate vehicles. The Mercedes pretty good in straight line, the McLaren also very good in straight line speed. Who is gonna get it done? These guys battling for the third podium position. Alex Hansen has the fastest lap of the race, but Justin Beachley not too shabby himself. Hansen going wide, potentially getting himself a limit. That question is how many he has left once you get into 3 limits. Taking the pro line as well. That is going to be a deterrent for his speed going into the front. Start finish straight as they go into the 90 of T1. Beachley having the inside line, Hansen having the outside line. Gonna be careful about another track limit. Does manage to keep it narrow. Manages to keep Beachley in check, and Beachley having to tuck behind as they go through the S's of turns 2, 3, and 4. Beachley gonna have to tuck in to get some of that slipstream behind the McLaren, but is it gonna be enough? There looks like there's quite a bit of gap, but not quite enough speed to really make anything happen just yet. But this is still the closest battle on the track as Beachley continues to look for opportunities in the lovely sunset here in upstate New York at Watkins Glen. Look at that scene, my goodness, lovely.
Yeah, good looking graphics here on ACC, especially during the sunset hours. The shadows looking good, the sun setting looking good, the cars looking good out on track. This battle's looking good for the last step of the podium too. Justin Beachley was able to get the undercut done on these guys, but losing the position out on track, now trying to get it back from Hansen in the 390 McLaren. Coming up to a little bit of traffic. We'll see if this will benefit either one of these two cars or whether they can negotiate it cleanly. Always something to think about during one of these longer races is how to negotiate the traffic. Just have to hopefully find the traffic at the right spot of the track. Just get by down the straight, not costing you too much time down the corners. Riding on board with the AMG of Justin Beachley, trying to get closer and closer to Hansen in front, but not quite having that pace advantage yet. Beatty Budd in 19th place, picking up a drive-through penalty, unfortunately for him. That might lose him a place or two down at the back. But this battle's gonna go on up the hill of the S's. You can see how much elevation change there is in that second part of this complex as they get to the top of the hill and get onto the back straight, approaching the bus stop, getting closer and closer to that traffic we mentioned. And yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. Through the braking zone, the McLaren just seeming to just kind of pull away from the Mercedes, having that pace advantage. As we said in that one of the earlier battles, we're not quite sure what the tire strategy of these two cars is, so maybe the McLaren picked up tires the Mercedes didn't, and that's why it got a bit of a jump through the pits. But we'll just have to wait and see how that all plays out in the last 11 and a half minutes of the race.
Yeah, this is fantastic between the two. I don't know if they took tires or not. I'm not quite sure what Beachley's situation is, but something that's going to play to potentially Beachley's advantage or disadvantage, because looks like Alex is going to get quite a good draft onto the straight here, or on the straight here, as they go into the heel section. Wade Jordan managed to get out of the way and let these two battle, but there's going to be some more traffic up ahead. I don't know if that's Rod Skyhook or Professor Kuranotis. We'll have to see what number pulls up here, but Beachley still pressuring Alex Hansen quite severely. Alex Hansen making a mistake. Beachley going a little wide. Not sure if that's going to be a track limit for him, but these two try to take advantage of every inch of the racetrack, going right up to the wall, not necessarily taking the pro line as we've seen before, rubbing the wall for good luck, but this is definitely a battle to watch out for. They have 10 minutes and 23 seconds left in the race. That's probably somewhere around the order of 8 laps. Beachley looking to gain any advantage. I think there was a bit of a lift there from Alex Hansen, trying to limit the limits, let's say, as Beachley tucks right underneath him, trying to get into that slipstream. But again, Alex Hansen getting a little lucky with the pink Mercedes up ahead, getting a bit of a draft down there. So Beachley does get distance. It is blue flag. That is someone that's going to have to move out of the way. Can't quite see who it is. It is Professor Kronotis, and we'll see how this traffic plays out for these two. Again, as we go through the lovely outer loop with the great sunset of that corner, the sun just shining right onto the banking. This has been incredible racing so far. Oh, looks like Hansen makes a mistake, goes wide into the chute. Now as they approach the toe, is this going to be enough for Beachley to get as much draft as he can? Hansen needing to focus really hard onto the corner here in the exit. Looks like he does go a little wide, wider than Beachley, but he does get the streamlined draft of Professor Kronotis up ahead. It's going to be a huge advantage for him as Kronos stays out wide and Hansen gets through, and Beachley's yet again stuck behind Chrono. No, managing to get out of the way. Is this going to be a compromised line for Hansen? Is it going to be a compromised line for Beachley? Nope, Kronotis managing to get firmly out of the way. Maybe, maybe not. Oh my goodness, what's going on? Chrono trying to be wide. It's such a nerve-wracking moment. Chrono does stay wide, lets Beachley through, but that is not an advantage gain for Beachley, as Alex Hansen does manage to keep a good delta of about 0.8 of a second. Now, while these two are battling, there is a bit of a gap. Rod Skyhook, on the other hand, applying a lot of pressure onto onto Scott Sullivan here. To Mercedes, no advantage in machinery, maybe in setups, but the pink Mercedes versus the blue Mercedes. Who is going to come out on top? Rod Skyhook, only 0.3 advantage for that top 10 position as they cross the front to finish straight, going on to the first corner of the 90 degree, literally titled 90 degrees. And it is going to be a run onto the S's and onto the back straight. Is this going to be enough for Rod Skyhook, aka Mason Perchalski, to gain an advantage, to gain the overspeed that he needs to overtake Scott Sullivan towards the final laps of this race? Not too much left. The sun is setting on us. The beautiful rays of Watkins Glen shining upon the racing that's happening here. We're watching in the simulated world. If you can't tell, it's so pretty. Sometimes I forget myself. It is fantastic. Oh, I love this shot. We should just watch that corner over and over again, because I really love the sunset on that shot.
Yeah, the sunset peeking out in a few great spots right down here too. Hopefully not getting into the eyes of the drivers too much, as it can impact how you can see the braking zone in a few parts of the track. Yeah, good battle here between these two Mercedes. You've got the bubblegum pink versus the cotton candy blue ahead. There's a fun, colorful battle on track for 9th and 10th between Sullivan and Skyhook. Lots of S's there. Getting myself confused. But yeah, good battle through the first part of the lap between these guys. Getting a bit of separation, though, as they enter the last portion. And just behind them, that's Elmer in the 22 Mercedes trying to get closer and closer to this battle, and maybe potentially trying to pick off a few places in the last 6.5 minutes of the race.
Yeah, I'm not sure. One of the big concerns here at Watkins Glen, that's kind of why I do like doing enduros on tracks that have track limits, Kuja, because it's just another added element. You know, when you do 6 hours and you only have 3+1 track limits to worry about, it really becomes a factor towards the end of the race, sometimes much earlier. But that's what separates the pros from the not pros, right? The ability to just really walk that fine line, maximize every atom of speed possible, every electron of speed, every neutron of speed possible that they can get, with not exceeding those track limits, or being able to maintain those track limits within the 4 allotted ones through 6 or 12 or 24 hours.
Yeah, and you have to really know where you can kind of push those boundaries. As we see in turn 1, drivers pushing the limits of those curbs, but in a few other places, such as the chute approaching turn 6 down here, there's really not much of a runoff to use, so you do have to kind of negotiate where you can and can't run wide. You can maximize your speed. Maybe here you can go a little bit side by side and kind of compromise your line, but here you can't. And yeah, it comes into a play a lot more during those endurance races than it does here, but still during a 50-minute race, if you pick up those 3 track limits early on in those first 20-25 minutes of the race, you do have to negotiate and deal with that during the last half of the race.
Yeah, and it gets to be quite a bit of challenge. You end up lifting and coasting quite a bit more than you would want to, as we have yet another subscription. Thank you so much for the support. Hades Foot, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Hope everybody is enjoying the closing laps of the 3rd race of the night here in the Open Series. We have Rod Skyhook, aka Mason Prochowski, chasing down that 9th place position of Scott Sullivan. Mason applying a lot of pressure. Now finally thinks he has enough to have a look on the inside, make Scott Sullivan look into his mirrors to try and see if there's anything he could do to get Scott off of his game. Both getting a pretty good exit out of the 90 turn 1 into the S's here, but it's not quite enough for Mason to make a move. Scott Sullivan being quite smart, quite calm and controlled. I don't know if you guys have watched AV6 Scott. Go check him out. Probably streaming right now, maybe not, I'm not quite sure, but if he is, super calm and collected, very level-headed, so really impressive to see Scott being under so much pressure and doing such a good job. Unfortunately, there is going to be a situation up ahead as we see Wade Georgeson potentially. I think that's Wade. No, that is not. It is Wade Georgeson of another Mercedes joining the pack, but a lap down. Wade does move out of the way to allow these two to continue racing as George Elmer has now joined the gang. It is 4 Mercedes, 3 in position, 1 lapped. These guys are going to be fighting for every bit of the road as they can. Now the 2 fighting ahead has definitely given George Elmer some hope, right? He is now right there, 4 tenths between Sullivan and Mason Petrowski, or aka Rod Skyhook, and then another 8 tenths between George Elmer and Rod Skyhook. Now George Elmer has been closing the gap. Mason Petrowski has been pretty safe so far. This is still the best battle on the track as we have 24 people remaining on track. We do have 22 people remaining on track, but these guys are going to be fighting to the end, I suspect, Kuja, until one of them wins out. One of them gets that P9 position. Is it going to be Scott Sullivan? Is it going to be Rod Skyhook? Or is it going to be George Elmer?
Yeah, any one of these 3 Mercedes could end up in any one of these 3 positions in the final 2 or 3 laps of the race. Rod Skyhook in the middle of this Mercedes battle, getting closer and closer to the bumper of Sullivan ahead, but not quite able to make any sort of move. Just having a few looks on the inside of a few corners, but not quite alongside to worry Sullivan in front. Elmer behind, just pulling back a little bit. Rod Skyhook having a really good run up to the bus stop here, but not quite close enough. Sullivan having a really good straight line speed advantage despite not having any sort of slipstream ahead of him. Able to keep the advantage over the pink Mercedes behind. As yeah, that sunset getting a little bit lower in the sky, not quite as impactful into that corner now. Getting closer and closer down the braking zone into turn 6. Elmer running a little bit deep. We'll see if Skyhook is going to try to have any sort of look on the inside of turn 7. The toe of the boot not quite going up the hill. Neither one flipping under traction. Getting a good exit from Sullivan in that sky blue Mercedes ahead. Into another heavy braking zone, but neither car having any sort of an advantage. We hear the message from the ACC director that this is going to be the final lap of the race as these drivers cross the line. Going to give one more lap for Skyhook to try and pull off any sort of move and move up into 9th place, but at the moment it's looking like advantage Sullivan. But as we say that, running a little bit wide through the last couple of corners, and Skyhook getting closer and closer to the bumper. This is where we've seen Skyhook have an advantage over the Mercedes ahead through this first section of the track. We'll see if he can get close enough on the exit to try and pull off a move in the bus stop. Getting a good exit. We have a great view from this front bumper cam. Trying to get closer and closer to the wing of the Mercedes ahead. But it seems like Sullivan setting up that car for a really good straight line speed run, as Skyhook's not really able to take advantage of the slipstream that he has, bobbing and weaving as Sullivan, not giving any sort of straight line speed advantage to the car behind. But is he able to keep his concentration through the bus stop? He does. And now through the long sweeping right-hander, getting ever so closer, but not quite an opportunity for a move here. We've seen a couple of Mercedes run a little bit wide here, but not this time. Skyhook not able to apply the pressure enough to Sullivan for him to make a mistake as they approach the last sector of the track. Oh, what happened there?
Yeah, going from the rear view of Sullivan, seeing the two cars chasing down the last lap of the race. Looks like Ricardo Rivera does manage to take that P1 position. Congratulations to Ricardo Rivera and all of Puerto Rico with that win. Dan Brace coming in P2 with Alex Hansen getting that top podium spot, or the next podium spot in P3, Beachley just behind JP Reed in P5. Almost. But this battle is not over yet. Couple of corners left. Rod Skyhook looking to gain any possible advantage he can into the final corners here. But it looks like Scott Sullivan, masterclass of defense. Going up, it's a P9. Skyhook, P10. George Elmer, P11. That was a lovely bit of racing. Even though no positions were exchanged, just fantastic from all these guys to be driving so close and not having any incidents.
Yeah, it was a good three-way battle at the end with Elmer closing in on that pack too. It's a very good, some fun, clean racing towards the end of a 50-minute race. Those gaps within those three cars within a second of each other as they crossed the line too. So yeah, good action all throughout the 50 minutes.
Fantastic. Great job. Ricky Yatanashi, no issues here. Got the issues out of the way in the rookie series in the second race. And just to finish, Benotis, not so good. Probably was hoping for a bit better a performance as Mariko gets in. Just said it, Mariko. I don't know if you heard. You did say that you did better. Good job. Nice to get out of a bad situation into a good one. As Efrain Okuendo finishes the race in P15. Well, there you have it, folks. Fantastic job by everybody. An incredible race. 3 incredible races. Great job. And let's have a look and see if we can bring anybody in for an interview. Look for my Discord somewhere. We have Ricardo Rivera and Alex Hansen coming into the booth here. Well, Ricardo, we questioned you for a second with Dan Brace overtaking, and unfortunately we missed the take back, but you had a lot of Puerto Ricans supporting you here in chat. Congratulations on the P1 position. How was the race today?
Yeah, thank you very much.
How'd your race go?
At first I was a little bit worried because of those McLaren, especially in Sector 1, since watching the sectors in qualifying, that they were almost half a second faster in Sector 1. I knew I had to defend for my life, especially those opening laps. I couldn't make it from then, but luckily he did a small mistake and I put myself like half a second to 6/10 in that first lap, and that wasn't enough. Also, that was far enough to keep the P1 in Sector 1 for the next laps.
And I'm actually realizing that I don't think I've given Kuja the opportunity to have any interview questions. So Kuja, I'll let you take over the rest of the interview with Ricardo and with Alex Hansen. while I search for someone to raid.
Woohoo.
Sure, good deal. Yeah. Talk us through the pit stop. Your strategy. Did you end up taking tires, or did you just do the mandatory fuel stop?
I did not take tires. I didn't want to run the chance of having the McLaren close enough to overtake me, so I prefer not to change tires and get the 5-second advantage.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't blame you there. Yeah, maintaining track position in the Alpine, especially around a track like Watkins Glen, where some cars really have that straight line speed advantage, is really critical. But yeah, congratulations on keeping P1 and maintaining it throughout, and yeah, just kind of ran away from everybody at the end after the pit stops.
Yep, thank you very much.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Alex. Same with the same kind of question during the pit stops. We saw the car behind come in early and stop, and then have a bit of an undercut situation, and you came out behind, but you were able to get back through. So talk us through your strategy during the pit stops.
Yeah, I saw Justin Beachley going for a pit stop. I was like, nah, I'm gonna cover it. And I did a pretty good lap, almost like half a second, I think, of the fastest lap, because I had the fastest, so I could see it. And I think he did not take tires because he overtook me like immediately. Also, I missed the pit stop, and I had to back up. And I took tires, yes. So I had to put some fight with him after the pit stop, and this overtake in the chicane. I hate this spot for overtake, but thankfully Beachley is a good driver and he just let me through.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's always interesting to see how the different strategies play out. Yeah, he seemed to want to get that track advantage, but yeah, you had that really good pace advantage towards the end of the race and able to get through and not really give him any sort of looks. How is it negotiating a battle around Watkins Glen? I know some of the corners around here get really tight, so it's kind of hard to go too wide.
So T1 and the similar after the uphill right side, I just don't know the name of the corners. So I could not steer at all into them. I had to lose like 0.2 per corner because my car was just going straight. Then also I took tires. It helped for maybe 10 minutes, and this problem happened again. Just too aggressive setup.
Yeah, that can really happen, especially if the temperatures are quite high on the track. I wasn't sure. Couldn't quite see the conditions, but yeah, depending on the conditions, they can be certainly wear and tear. But nonetheless, congratulations on picking up a podium position, and looking forward to see how you guys do in the next races.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job to you guys. And we have Beachley in the chat going, shakes fist at McLaren's. So much speed in a straight line. Hey, I'm not sure what you're talking about, Beachley. Ricardo Rivera managed to get ahead of Dan Brace. So like, I feel like it's just a skill issue.
Yeah, but they were putting 8 kilometers more than me in the straights.
No, let's not talk about that. Let's just talk about Beachley's skill issue. Let's focus on that and only that. Beachley, I did say earlier that I was amazed at your incredible pace lately, you know, getting up into the top 5, you know, qualifying, you know, closer to top 3 sometimes. It's just incredible. I remember it was like yesterday, I feel like we were just racing in the back of the grid. So incredible pace you found. I don't know what you've done. Tell me some of your magic. But yeah, great job. And great job to you guys, P1 and P3. Congratulations. And Ricardo, you have a lot of Puerto Ricans in chat supporting you. So I'm going to leave you the last words, maybe in Spanish, to support your Puerto Rican fan base here.
No sé, gracias por seguir viendo los streams cada semana y nos vemos en la próxima.
I know he's talking crap about me, but we'll let
No, never.
Well, thank you guys. Kuja, thank you so much. Appreciate everybody in chat here. Thank you so much for all the support, the subs. You guys have been absolutely phenomenal. The follows here today. we're going to be continuing streaming on Wednesday. We'll have the West Coast Wednesday Championship. For now, what we're going to do is we're going to hop onto something a little bit different. We have Ego Streams. Looks like he's got 191 followers, only 14 people watching. So let's go support Ego Streams, racing some iRacing today. So a little bit of change of pace. But let's go show some Tracklicious love and support. And yeah, another fan of the racing community. Thank you everybody for all of the support and all the love that you've been showing us today and hanging out. And we'll see you next time. For now, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. And see you next time. I'm Eric Lukassian, along with Kusha Terekov. Have a great day.